not, excuse me, it's 9 o'clock. Would you please join us for the flag salute?
Sure.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. So I guess if we wanted to wait on that, we could have been.
Could.
Okay. Do I have a motion to approve the minutes of Monday, March 24th, 2025 meeting as written?
So moved.
I'll second.
Been moved by Barker and seconded by McCreary. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. Motion carries. Do I have a motion to approve the minutes of Thursday, March 27th, 2025 as written? Also move.
I'll second.
Been moved by Thompson and seconded by McCurry. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Our next motion is for a tax abatement, and I don't know unless some of you guys understand specifically what it is. I wouldn't mind if Connie came down and explained it to us, so.
You want to hold off till later since you want to move along?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, that's what I thought. Yeah, we'll just do that one
Oh,
later.
that's in Labor Day.
Okay. So, yeah, I believe that's right. So we go ahead and do these others, I guess, while we're at this. Motion to authorize and direct the chairman to sign the agricultural risk coverage county option ARC CO and price loss coverage PLC election and contract through the Farm Service Agency under the USDA. From what I understand, this is Wolf Creek land.
Oh, okay.
that Brett Skillman does this. They do some test plots and stuff. They no-till, till, different variations. And
Did Brett turn this in, or is it Matt seen?
well,
It's coming from the FSA office.
yeah.
Okay, because they got Matt's name.
He may be
Well, yeah, they're
He's got some of the ground also.
on Wolf
okay. So yeah, they lost my train of thought.
Okay,
It's
so
the-
the other one, okay, they're both, their names are on it, so.
Yeah, they're
Okay.
I forgot what I was gonna say.
All right.
The
So they do this-
extension office is involved in it, is why we have to sign it, I
Do they do
guess.
this every year, or?
Yeah, we've done this every year. So I'd move.
I'll second it.
Been moved by Thompson and seconded by Barker. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Move to approve the agricultural land lease agreement dated March 25th, 2025 between R.D. Lindsay and Coffee County, where Lindsay will pay Coffee County a sum of $41.50 and some cents per acre, or $10,060 for the 242 acres on or before October 31st, 2025.
So move.
I'll second.
Been moved by Barker and seconded by McCurry. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. Move to authorize and direct the chairman to sign the Coffee County payroll notice for Kara Mays, deputy appraiser, GIS coordinator, promotion, step change, going from hourly to salary, wage classification from 5518 to 6015, wage $35.14, which was $73,091.20, to $74,651.20, effective 3/16/2025.
I'd make that motion. I'll second.
It's been moved by McCurry and seconded by Peterson. Do we have any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. Okay. So I guess we'll go ahead and 905, Mark Murphy, interest in airport board.
Okay. I'm not sure, I've never done this, so.
So you just come on down, as we like to say.
Yep, I'm a Kansas boy, so. Been here most of my life, except for, grew up in Abilene, Kansas. And, my wife, my mother was a school nurse, so I had to behave myself, because she went to every school.
So you couldn't get by with anything?
Couldn't buy with nothing if I got home and, yeah, you did this. Anyway, I have interest in being on the board at the airport because I'm a pilot, EAA member, local in Emporia. We don't have one here yet, but so I know Mark and I go to church together. So I got my application here. I've got a mechanical engineering degree, K-State. I've got a Washburn Master's in Business Administration. So I worked for Goodyear, started in Topeka. They moved me to corporate in Akron, Ohio. Eventually through Kelly Springfield, I worked for there for a while, which is a subsidiary of Goodyear. So anyway, I have an interest in just keeping the airport the way it is or better. I've owned the plane for almost 20 years. Just sold it this spring. So, but would like to be an applicant for the board.
Okay.
Any questions?
Where did you hear about the opening?
Well, I know Dennis Hatch.
Yeah.
I knew he was having some health problems, so.
Okay.
And I'd always talk with him, and I know he's going down, medically, so.
Uh-huh.
I'll step up and try to fill that position. If you guys approve, I guess.
Okay. All right, so was our deadline today for the applications to be in, or when is it open?
It's actually April, end of April.
Into
Yeah, I
April,
think it's into
not the end of
April.
March,
That
okay.
sound right?
But my question is,
But we have one vacancy, right, and then there's two coming up.
right,
Right.
so I didn't know if you wanted to place him in Dennis Hatch's position, and then it would end May 18th of 2027.
Oh, okay, his isn't, Dennis's isn't,
Well, it
I
would
mean,
have been, wait.
Dennis is the expiration, it will expire May 18th, 2027. Right.
okay,
His position, it's
Yeah.
a vacant position.
okay.
So that's
So is
what
this the position that Mark is that the position that we need to fill then?
well, that's what I was thinking, we could put him in that one. It's a 3-year, so he would have went on last year.
Yeah. So,
How do you want to do it?
I mean, I'm fine with doing that.
We could roll it over at the end if he's willing to.
Yeah.
Yeah, you got at least 2 more years, maybe 2
Yeah.
years.
So.
Do you want me to put to fill the unexpired term?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Motion to appoint Mark Murphy to the airport board to fill an unexpired term effective immediately ending March 18th, 2027.
May 18th.
Oh, sorry, May 18th, 2027. I'll move.
I'll make that motion.
Okay, I'll second it. Been moved by Peterson and seconded by Thompson. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Motion passes.
You're on board.
Oh, man, it's easy to get hired, isn't it?
Dang, and the pay is what?
Appreciate your interest.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Moving me up in the agenda.
Okay. SOS proclamation. Jenny Sampols, Child Advocacy Center Director, and Katie Peraza?
Yes, she couldn't be here because we actually had a forensic interview doing today and going on in Emporia. So
Okay.
just me, just Jenny.
Child Advocacy Center family coordinator, that was her title,
Yes,
correct?
yes.
Okay,
Yeah, we're a two-person team at SOS. I'm the director, and then Kati is our family coordinator. We have an office over the SOS Child Advocacy Center has 2 offices. We have one in Emporia, and then we have one here in Burlington. And what we do is we facilitate forensic interviews for children that have been abused or witnesses to violence as well. So we provide advocacy through the entire process for these children and for the families. So with Child Abuse Prevention Month, we like to go ahead and see if you guys would sign a proclamation for us. We want everybody to be aware that this happens in every community. So we thought this would be a great time to sign a proclamation and, let our communities know that we're here to help as well. So, do you have any questions?
sadly, it's a much needed program.
Yeah. I always say if I didn't have a job, that'd be the perfect world, because that means there would be no
Right,
abuse.
right.
But unfortunately, that is not the case, and numbers are continually going up, so.
I was going to ask if the numbers are on increase as
Yeah.
a rule.
Yes, unfortunately, we keep seeing increases every year. I've been there since early 2022, and every year that I've been there, we've gone up maybe 10 to 15 more forensic interviews each year.
Mm-hmm. What's the cause? I mean, or maybe you can't.
Yeah, no, I mean, in general, unfortunately, these the kids that have been abused are abused by people that they know. A lot of times it is parents in the home, people in the home. They know them well, and so unfortunately, it's this crisis that we're all going through. 2020 did not help because we were all at home, and so that just increased, I think, that frustration. And there's this. Everybody was angry, we couldn't go anywhere, and so that also increased the numbers of abuse as well, so, yeah.
Okay.
I will say, those who are part of the Child Advocacy Center, they're specially trained, so when you're talking about a forensic interview, it's not an interview that just anybody can go complete. They have to go to child-friendly training, and one of the important parts of that, in fact, law enforcement, some are forensically trained to interview children, but the majority are not, because you have to interview children in a certain way that will potentially, if it ends up in the courtroom, that it can withstand scrutiny. So the people who are involved in the Child Advocacy Center, in my opinion, and I've dealt with them for 20 years now, they are some of the unsung heroes of the judicial system, because they see a lot of things that people probably wouldn't be able to handle, and it's a very heavy subject matter, because you're talking to kids and interviewing kids who are expressing and talking about trauma, whether that be physical abuse, sexual abuse, or both. And it's usually a caregiver, it's usually someone who's close to them, mom's boyfriend, an uncle, a grandparent, whatnot, and it's heavy stuff. So what this proclamation does is express the importance of the Child Advocacy Center and people who advocate for children who are dealing with trauma on a day-to-day basis.
So should I read the proclamation before we vote on it, or what do they think?
Yeah, good.
Okay. Whereas child abuse and neglect are serious problems affecting every segment of our community, and finding solutions requires input and action from everyone in our community, and whereas children have a right to be safe and to be provided an opportunity to thrive, learn, and grow, and whereas child abuse can have long-term psychological, emotional, and physical effects that can have lifelong consequences for victims of abuse, and whereas we must come together as partners so that the voices of our children are heard by all, and we are, as a community, extending a helpful hand to children and families in need, and whereas by providing safe, stable, and nurturing relationships for our children, free of violence, abuse, and neglect, we can ensure that Kansas children will grow to their full potential as the next generation of leaders, helping to secure the future of this state and nation. Whereas communities must make every effort to promote programs and activities that benefit children and their families. Whereas we acknowledge that we must work together as a community to increase awareness about child abuse and contribute to promote the social and emotional well-being of children and families in a safe, stable, nurturing environment. Whereas prevention remains the best defense for our children and families. Now therefore be it resolved that the Coffee County Commission hereby proclaims the month of April 2025 to be National Child Abuse and Neglect Prevention Month in Coffee County, Kansas. So we have a motion to proclaim April 25th to be National Child Abuse and Neglect Prevention Month in Coffee County, Kansas.
Second.
It had been moved by Barker and seconded by McCurry. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes.
Thank you so much.
No, thank you for what you do.
Thank you for your work.
Yes, thank you.
I know sometimes it probably isn't easy.
It's not, no, but somebody has to do it, you know?
That's exactly right. It's much appreciated.
Yes, we appreciate you guys signing this, thank you so much.
I'm not on the agenda. Can I talk to you guys for a minute? You got time? I think you may have heard some interesting things happening today.
I haven't heard anything.
You didn't hear anything?
Haven't heard
Still
anything.
here?
Okay. This, thank you.
I'll get you your.
Oh, you're good, okay.
So this Friday, about 4:30, 5 o'clock, we lost internet. We lost internet to everybody. Hospital went down, we went down, everybody was down. What happened in the hospital, I didn't get anybody back up until Sunday. So the hospital was out phones and very little internet access until Sunday. We put out a notice Friday on social media to people we could, let them know that. What happened was, and I want to explain this to YouTube too. What happened was our IP address was no longer valid. What an IP address is just like your house address. You know, the post office knows you live at 103 Oak Street. So every post office in the world knows that if I send them a letter, it gets to 103 Oak Street. Our IP addresses were, is a long number, and it's at 62. And when we have 250 addresses. We've had those addresses for 25 or 30 years. We got them from our original internet service provider. And so we've rented from them for 30 years. Their internet service provider has changed ownership or changed ownership group a couple of times. And in the previous owners that had it, they had a dispute and went bankrupt, and the ownership of our addresses is part of that bankruptcy court. So we were renting IP addresses, and somewhere Friday at about 4:30, our addresses got flagged as no longer valid.
Because of the bankruptcy?
We don't know.
I'm just
Yeah,
kidding.
I'm guessing it's part of the bankruptcy. So our addresses are no longer valid. So the world out there thinks we no longer exist. All the post offices in the world said Coffee County no longer exists. Don't take anything from them. Don't send anything to them. Don't take anything from them. So we lost our internet. That happened at 4:30. I got on talking with people and support. We didn't find out exactly what the problem was until probably Saturday, 9, 10 o'clock. We have the ability, our ISPs appealed it, saying, yes, this is a legitimate address. It was accepted, and then it immediately get dropped. We put it in as emergency services, because it's the hospital, it's the sheriff's office, everybody. The appeal would be approved, and it would immediately be dropped. So we were dead in the water. There's nothing, this is international group that controls these addresses, because they're very strict on what is allowed. So we ran out of our appeal process. Luckily, about a year and a half ago, the Coffee Can Network bought our own addresses. So we have, our old address was 62. We have a 98 address now that we could move to. Anything new, we've been moving to that new address because we own it. It's not rented, it's ours. So we've been slowly moving stuff to that address. Anything new came to that address. This forced our hand, we have to move everything. So Sunday morning, I made a decision with the hospital, said, all right, we're done, let's move to our new address. So I spent all day Sunday getting the hospital up, their phones, all their internet connections and everything. Got the hospital running about 5 o'clock yesterday evening. Their phones work and everything's going. We're still having some issues, because this is, it's going to be an ongoing thing for some time to get them moved to our new address. It's like, a change of address for a house. It's an
What about the
ongoing
sheriff's
problem.
department?
They were off, and I've got KBI back up and running, and waiting on a reply from Verizon. As soon as, we'll change it on our end, Verizon's got to change their stuff, and we're back on. 911 was never affected.
Right.
It's just internet. So, I figured, you guys probably heard that the hospital wasn't working, so I thought I'd better come up here and explain what was going on.
I hadn't heard anything.
I'm surprised. You heard it? Okay. So we are moved to our new IP addresses. There's things, part of the IP address is, I send it out, they have to accept it from their end. Say I send something to the bank from my 103 Oak. The bank, depending on security, says, well, I don't accept stuff from 103 Oak. I only accept it from your old address. So we've got to change both ends, from where we send, and they got to accept what we send. So it's going to be a process.
Is all our critical
Every
communications up and going right now?
Yes, all of our critical stuff, radios and all that stuff never went down.
Right.
911 never went down. It was just critical hospital
Right.
connections went down.
Did you let them know that it was like that situation?
Yes, we did.
And
Nothing.
there's nothing that you can do?
There's nothing. Right now, we sent it, the last I heard from, I was talking to the ISPs, both of them, is we run 2 different ISPs, and they have appealed it, but it's got to go before a judge, and judges and lawyers don't work on the weekends. Yeah, I know.
So do we.
Judges don't work on the weekend, both of them.
I won't speak for the judges.
Okay. Anyway, it was, by that time, it's like, let's rip the Band-Aid and change. We can't wait.
So, does that mean your goal is to totally abandon the
We have
address?
totally abandoned, right now, we have totally abandoned those old IP addresses.
So there's not gonna be a problem between the old IPs and the new IPs, or if there's any crossover?
No problem.
I just didn't want.
Oh,
no.
It's just,
It's a
yeah,
nightmare, I understand.
Yeah, it is a nightmare.
And we will own the new IP.
We will own the new IP addresses. That won't tie us to any internet service provider. They're ours now.
With the old addresses, since we've abandoned them, I don't know if there's any fees or anything.
It sounds like they abandoned us, we didn't abandon them.
It was part of what we, our internet, cost with them, we'll see. And that's something we'll have to talk with them about.
Because we don't need to be billed for 2 IPs.
Yeah. It's just part of an IP, when you get an internet service provider, they
Right.
give you, you get an IP address from them. So, I'll ask,
Let them know that we're not very happy.
Oh, yeah.
Did you
Well, I
realize-
was talking with them, at 4 o'clock in the morning, the head guy, so. It's just, it's
Sounds
what it
like
is.
you did what you had to do.
I just wanted to let you guys know what happened and let YouTube know what happened,
And there's a cure
and there's
in
a
the
cure
process.
in the process.
Yeah.
Thank you, Brad, for staying on top of
Okay.
that.
Yeah, appreciate that.
So I wanted to get up here and let everybody know. Thanks.
Okay, thank you for dealing with it.
Yep.
These things that you signed, I have one more that has sales tax on it.
Great.
Okay. Very good.
I didn't know if,
I will get Jessica on that.
didn't know if it was it was one that we had Friday also.
Oh, it probably didn't come in quick enough.
A vendor,
Okay.
so I don't know if there's a reason or not, but, I don't know if Lee wants to see it, so. It's that,
Okay.
Oh, okay. Okay, I see it now.
My bad.
No, that's fine, thank you.
Do you want me to call Jenny, see if she's coming up, or?
Yeah, do we?
I don't know who. Oh, she's coming at 9:30. Okay, she should be here in a minute.
what about the school?
They're not coming.
They're not.
We just chat, they came in and canceled. So, here she is.
Okay. Good morning. We're ready for you if you are.
Okay, I'm ready.
Okay, Jenny Tapman, new Economic Development Director, introduction. Good morning.
Good morning, hello. So you just want me to introduce myself?
Yeah, maybe if you can give some people a little background about yourself and
Yeah, okay.
thoughts you have in mind, I guess.
This is going out on YouTube, so
Yeah.
you're talking to the
Okay.
camera.
No, that sounds great.
On.
So yeah, like you said, my name's Jenny Tapman, and I'm going to be the new Coffee County Economic Development Director. So I am a Coffee County native. I did graduate from Lebo High School, and that's where I moved back with my husband and my 2 children a few years ago. So we've been living back in Lebo for, I think, about 3 years now. Sorry, I hustled up the stairs. So.
We're good. We're good.
We've been
Just
living-
relax,
yeah.
we're good.
We've been living in Lebo for about 3 years. A little bit about my background. I have a bachelor's degree from K-State in journalism and mass communications, and then I went on to get my master's degree in library and information science from Emporia State. With that, kind of for a good portion of my career, I've worked in public libraries, including I worked for a short time at the Burlington Library here, and then I've also worked like in Emporia, Lawrence Public Library. Recently was working for the Mid-Continent Public Library System for about 4 years up in Kansas City. And then, when COVID happened, my husband and I and our 2 very young children decided to move back to Coffee County to be closer to family and friends. That's where we landed back here. And then I worked for a few years for Thrive Kansas, which is based out of Iola, and it is a kind of a small, new-ish nonprofit that's focused on rural community health in Kansas. So I got to hone my skills in grant writing, community development, working in policy and advocacy. We did a lot with early childhood policy on the state level, working with child care providers across the state. Also, one of our bigger programs, we funded community health workers across the state. They're kind of boots on the ground, help people, connect people to services that they may need in their communities. And so I got to wear a lot of different hats at Thrive. And then, you know, as I've seen the economic development position open for a few months here in Coffee County, and at first, you know, when I saw the position, I was sharing it with friends and people I knew. I said, hey, this is a very important position in our community. I know, you know, there's a lot of good that this position could do. Didn't apply for it myself, and then just kind of kept seeing it, and I've been involved in some other things in Lebo, some things we've done with like the Parks and Recs Commission. We built a new playground in Lebo last year. I've been part of some work with a group called Energize Lebo that is trying to help. We want to build a new sports complex for our kids in the next, you know, 5 to 10 years by the time my kids get in high school. And just seeing a lot of that work being done, and then seeing connections with different things that could be with economic development in this position, and a lot of stuff I've learned at Thrive about community development. I finally decided, hey, maybe I just need to apply for this job. I think there's a lot of things and good I could bring to the community as economic development director, and I did, and here I am. So that's a long and short story of who I am.
And welcome aboard.
Thank you. I'm very excited to be here.
Well, from our interview process, it's something that I might share with everybody else out there. You bring a lot of history about knowledge about grant writing, and that's something that you want to help the county with too. Also, is an extra perk that we're getting with you,
Yes.
Aside from just economic development
Yes.
person, correct?
Yes. Like I said, I do have a background in communications, and then even working in public libraries, a lot of the community outreach and community development has always been something I've been interested and passionate about. And I know there's a lot of opportunities out there I think we could explore with Coffee County that would really help our businesses in our community.
Very good.
Yeah.
Very good. Well, I look forward to working with you.
Yeah.
We are. We're pleased to have you on board.
Definitely. Is there anything else you guys need from me today?
No, I don't recall. When do you start?
Today.
Right into the fire.
Yep. Rhonda has been giving me a tour. I think I've got some paperwork to do today, and
Great.
I'm here. So.
Well, I thought it was coming up right away, but I just thought I'd ask.
So I'm here and ready to get started.
Just thought I'd let everybody know so tomorrow the phone can start.
Yeah. Call me. I'm here.
Yeah.
I may not know all the answers yet, but I'm happy to find them out.
Well, that's all anybody can
That's
do.
all,
yeah.
We appreciate that. Welcome aboard.
All right.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Yeah, that'd be fine.
Oh, really?
spent some time with hail, a little things.
But
Kind
that,
of cut our break a little short.
but that's all right. That, that'll be fine.
Yeah.
But they're safe, right? But they're safe.
Do our executive session.
What's that?
I think we'll do our executive
Okay.
session. Okay, very good. Good morning.
Morning, how are you guys?
Doing good. How are you?
Good. I need to get 15 minutes executive session for legal, with Wade included, and commissioners.
Okay. Motion to enter into executive session for 15 minutes to include each of the commissioners and county councilor Wade Bowie and appraiser Connie Lawrence to discuss matters deemed privileged in the attorney-client relationship regarding what job performance?
So, there's Connie came to me and talked to me this morning. There's an embedded potential legal issue that needs to be regarding county policy, that needs to be talked about in executive session.
Okay, what would we label it as then?
So county policy, regarding county policy.
So, legal issue regarding county policy.
Regarding county policy under the Kansas Open Meetings Act, is this number gonna be correct here then?
Yeah.
Should be
I just got it.
B2.
Yeah.
75-4319B2.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second it. Been moved by McCurry and seconded by Thompson. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. This will go in at 9:40. Yeah, whether it gave us off time or not.
Are we in?
Yeah.
Yes,
You guys can go ahead and
Get up here real quick.
want, maybe a minute or so. Are you going back in?
No.
So it'll be your, just short.
Thank you.
So no action taken at this time.
No action taken at this time.
So while you were here, Connie, if I can find it, we had a tax abatement. Can you tell us what that is?
Be on ground.
He protested 22, 23, 24. He was protesting 25 times. The house was unlivable. His dad owned it, and we had it on for fair condition. Didn't realize it was so bad. So
Okay.
we changed it and made it unlivable because it right before it hasn't already.
Okay,
And
okay.
That's
That-
that
the
was
house-
several years in there.
the house in question is, that's correct.
Okay, okay.
Okay.
So, motion to authorize and direct the chairman to sign the 3 tax abatements in the amount of $2,935.12.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second it. So, moved by McCurry and seconded by Thompson. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. Thank you.
Thank you, Connie.
Okay. Well, Kutok, Rock, Tyler, Ellsworth.
Yes.
Come on down.
All right.
Good morning.
Good morning. Good morning, everyone. It's
Good
nice to
morning.
be here and see you all. Thanks for the opportunity to come and make some introductions. So as you all are aware, our colleague and friend Joe Serrano passed away in December. And so we're still very much kind of processing that personally and as a group, a working group. But in visiting with Wade, we thought it would be helpful to come down and sort of talk about the rest of the team here. It's not just one person, it's not just a couple people, but we have a team of attorneys and staff that work on Kansas public finance matters. And so I thought that I would first introduce you to each member of the team here that's joined us this morning and talk a little bit about what we do for the county in our role as bond counsel. And then following that, I'll touch just briefly on one of the projects that we have in the works right now, the Community Improvement District, CID sales tax up at Vito Junction. That will probably be back before you in the next month or so for some decisions, and so I can provide a little bit of an update on that to talk to you about the direction that we'll be looking for from you as that continues to move forward. So if that all sounds good, I'll dive in, but happy to answer any particular questions at any time as I'm going through stuff. So I'm Tyler Ellsworth. I'm a public finance attorney with QTAC. I've been with the firm 13 years and have been doing public finance work here in Kansas City for 10 years. And my colleagues behind me, from left to right, Bridget Morris. Bridget is a public finance attorney as well. And she, in addition to her public finance practice, she has spent time with the City of Dayton, Ohio, and the City of Overland Park, Kansas, in their city attorney's offices. So she brings that municipal law perspective. It's sort of helpful to have somebody that's been on the other side, sort of in Wade's shoes, in some respects, sort of be part of our team and remind us what things are like from the other side of the table when we're trying to advise, whether it's a public finance question that involves municipal borrowing, or whether it's a question that involves economic development incentives. Next to Bridget is Emma Kate Dillon. Emma Kate is an associate. She joined us in September and has been doing a lot of work on Kansas municipal borrowing and Kansas economic development incentives in the time that she's been with us. She actually spent the summer with us in 2023 between her second and third years of law school, and then spent a little bit of time during the year in the fall of 2023 actually helping me and another colleague work on the latest refunding financing for the power plant here that the city of Burlington was the issuer for. So she's got a little bit of experience with the area and certainly some experience in public finance. Next to Emma Kate, Jacob Lowry. Jacob's been a public finance attorney for probably 20 years, and he joined QTAC in 2017. And so he's got a depth of experience both on the Kansas side and on the Missouri side. And last but not least, Misha Chartino is the staff member that really keeps our group organized and running. So she was Joe's assistant, and she was also, and continues to be, kind of our project coordinator, our public finance group coordinator, making sure that everybody's on track, seeing what needs to be done each week, each day with each project, whether that's publication deadlines or agenda packet deadlines, signature pages, drafting documents, all of it. So Misha is a great resource, both in terms of kind of institutional knowledge that she and Joe had before Joe's passing, but also just as a resource for how everything works. So that's the team. It's not just one of us. There's several of us here pitching in. With respect to what we as bond counsel do for the county, there are kind of two hats that we wear. And one of those hats is helping the county with municipal borrowing. So we put the proceedings together to put the election in place for the jail financing. So I think that was in 2022. We did the election proceedings, and we worked on preparing the documents and working with your financial advisor, Greg Varenberg, on the first of the two bond issues to finance the new jail. And we were back before you this past fall for the issuance of that second series of bonds, the second $10 million series of financing for that bond issue to complete construction of the jail. So the municipal borrowing piece is one thing that we're a resource for. If there are questions about financing projects, questions about how any of it works, one of the facets of what we do on the municipal borrowing side is when you issue debt as a public entity and sell it to investors, there are securities law questions, federal securities law questions that we kind of get asked to weigh in on. And we actually have a separate engagement that we work through your treasurer, Richard, with to make sure that those securities laws are followed each year. There's an annual disclosure that we do that we work with Richard and Angie to update. So that's kind of what we do on the municipal borrowing side. The other hat that we wear is in the realm of economic development. So we have working knowledge of the various incentive tools that are available to you. That's property tax rebates, industrial revenue bonds, community improvement district sales taxes, star bonds, things like that. And so we work on structuring whatever the development deal is with a company like SSM that comes to town and says, hey, we want to build this new facility. Are there incentives that are available to help us make the numbers work, help make this profitable? We work with you all and with Wade and your economic development staff to make sure that we've structured a deal that from a business standpoint works for the county, works for the company, but also checks the boxes that we need to check from a legal standpoint, and then documenting everything in a development agreement to make sure that there's accountability, that what the company says they're going to do, they actually deliver on in order to keep being eligible for those incentives. So probably a good place to pause. Any questions on any of that? So far, so good.
Obviously, you're the ones that's representing your company today. Who do you view would be, like Wade or whoever's our contact person?
Yeah, no, that's a really good question. I think I have been the point of contact just in the last few months as we work through this transition with Joe. We're in the process of figuring out who it is that's going to be the point of contact going forward. As I mentioned, Misha does have a lot of the sort of institutional knowledge from things that she's worked on with Joe, things that she's worked on with me, and she is a point of contact for a lot of our clients for many things. So it may be that she's the easiest person to reach out to and kind of figure out who should field any questions that come up. But you're welcome to reach out to any one of us.
Okay.
I always pester Tyler.
That's true. That's true.
What?
Richard and I send a lot of emails back and forth. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, things that come up, things that need answering. So.
Okay.
Yeah. So I'll spend a couple minutes just visiting about the Beto Junction project and kind of where that stands, what the history is, and what we'll be looking for from you all in terms of direction over the next month or so. So 3 or 4 years ago, particularly at the start of when the CHIPS project was starting, when that was first becoming a reality, or we first saw that coming to fruition, coming together, your economic development staff worked with TA up at Beto Junction to say, hey, can we put a community improvement district sales tax in place up there at Beto Junction and use those sales tax dollars for infrastructure that may be required if the CHIPS Act facility gets built up there, or if there's other adjacent industrial type, logistics type development up there. And TA said, yeah, we're willing to do that. We, TA, are the primary sales tax generator up here. We will allow you to put a 2-cent sales tax on our retail sales. But here's what we want in return. We want a rebate of the increase in our property taxes. Not 100% rebate, just the county's share, and just a rebate on the property tax increases from, I think it was the 2021 valuation. So that was one piece of the deal, and that was just for a period of 3 or 4 years, 3 years, I think. They also wanted to see that the county put some sort of investment in to constructing infrastructure up there at the interchange in the community improvement district, and those improvements had to be started by the end of this calendar year, by December 31st of 2025. Now, the agreement was put in place 3 or 4 years ago. At the time, we thought 3 or 4 years later, 2025, we'd have a better idea of what was going on up there. For various reasons, we haven't, and there's not been the kind of development starting that we anticipated. But we reached out to TA and said, hey, this development has been slow to materialize. We still think it's in everybody's interest to continue this sales tax. Are there improvements that we can make that benefit both the county and TA? And so in talking with Wade, a couple of the things that we identified were, it sounds like you all would be interested in having some monument signage there off the highway, either on one or both sides that says, welcome to Coffee County. That sort of is a gateway down 75 right as people get off Interstate. Interstate 35. So that's one piece of what we're going to propose to TA for using some of these sales tax dollars for. The other thing that he said some of you have expressed an interest in is, it sounds like there are a lot of trucks up there at the travel plaza. It sounds like there are maybe some soft spots in the pavement up there, whether it's in the lots or the drives, and we're going to propose that we spend some of those sales tax dollars that we've collected in the last 3 years on making improvements to some of those soft spots in the paving. So in sort of partnering with TA to spend some of these dollars on their property, on things that benefit the county as well, we feel like we can reach agreement on the fact that some sort of tangible infrastructure improvements have been made. If we start those in this 2025 calendar year, that will allow us to get TA's agreement to continue that CID sales tax collecting beyond the end of this year. And then when more development happens up there at that interchange, we can use continue to use those sales tax proceeds for those infrastructure improvements.
Is there a specific amount that needs to be spent out of that?
There is not. And the agreement was set up with language that's purposefully vague. It just says there has to be tangible infrastructure improvements started in this calendar year. There's not a dollar amount, and it's not specific as to what that is.
And there's not as long as something is started, is that correct?
That's right, and that's why we wanted to make sure that we had open communication with TA,
right.
So that what we're doing, so that we said, here's the deal, here's all our cards, we've got some money to spend, there's not a set dollar amount, there's not a set of improvements, but let's agree on this so that both sides feel comfortable, so that TA says, yeah, let's keep this CID sales tax.
Is there, you're directing everything towards TA, is it going to cause a problem with the other businesses that are located in there if we do all the work with TA compared to what's across the road from and the mechanic shop?
That's a fair question. I don't know if you all have heard of any concerns from the other businesses in the couple of years that this sales tax has been in place. If you haven't heard any concerns to this point, I wouldn't anticipate that there would be concerns from them going forward, although it's a fair question.
Well, I'm just thinking if you do all the pavement project at TA, then nothing is done with the other, and so is there going to be backlash from it, like, hey, we didn't get that.
Richard, you got a question? Excuse us.
So, for this piece, I would start on the TA side, because that parking lot is terrible.
Right,
to pull in there.
it is.
And then we could move on to the others. But my question on the starting would be, is engineering starting it, or do I have to dig a hole in the ground?
I think we've got to dig a hole in the ground. I think the word tangible is used there, and I think it's more than just design. So, yeah, I think we do have to turn some dirt.
Yeah, I'd say starting on this side, we move to the others is.
I don't know about the other guys, I just wouldn't want to see a pissing match between the businesses up there. Well, they got so much this year and we didn't get this.
Yeah, and I, myself, I'd like to see something done for all of them.
Yeah.
If I can.
Yeah.
That would be my goal, you know. And maybe that doesn't all have to happen at the same time, but.
Or at least you're aware of it. It's going on if this tax continues, like you're trying to get at there. I can see that being very helpful, but everybody needs to be at the table on it.
Yeah, that's a really good point.
So this is something we have to get their blessing again. I thought this was a pass, you know, this was.
The agreement was passed, but because we thought that we would have very clear ideas at this point on what that infrastructure was and where we would spend that money, particularly for a CHIPS facility if that were to start.
Right.
Because we're not there yet, the agreement basically says we can keep this in place if we make these tangible improvements to infrastructure, but because we don't have something obvious like a road or a sewer connection for the benefit of the CHIPS facility, that's why it makes sense to sort of have this agreement with TA right now, because our primary agreement, the community improvement district does encompass those additional businesses and additional properties, but our agreement is with TA directly for sort of how.
Okay, because they have the percentage that's needed for them to be basically the decision maker, but if we fulfill our spending requirements, then this doesn't renew automatically, we have to get their blessing again?
If we fulfill our spending requirements, if push came to shove, we could say, we're forcing this on you, like we can litigate it, but we've met our obligation to start whatever construction we think is necessary. In the spirit of being good partners, is why we reached out to them to make sure that they don't have concerns and they know what we're doing. But by the same token, I mean, I think getting the input from the other business owners up there is the right thing to do.
You brought something up with the CHIPS facility. Are these funds that are generated by the Vito area to be used in the CHIPS area? Is that going to cause a problem? If so?
So the CID Act says that you can use those dollars in the community improvement district itself, as well as for infrastructure that's contiguous with and for the benefit of properties in the district.
And then that would include the CHIPS.
The CHIPS facility, if it's west of Vito Junction, is outside the district, but let's say we had like an access drive or a frontage road or some sort of sewer connection that was contiguous with the property in our community improvement district, you could spend those CID sales tax revenues for improvements like a frontage road, so long as it's contiguous with the district.
So the proposed construction area is not part of that district?
I thought it was.
What we're proposing now would be improvements in the district, but if CHIPS comes online, you wouldn't be limited just to that district if you have infrastructure that's contiguous.
Okay, but my question is, you know, geographically, this area that's drawn is the CHIPS area, is our property in the CID district?
I don't think that it is.
Okay.
It goes up and down 75 on both sides. It may go down just to Highway 50, but it does not go to the west.
Okay.
And maybe to take a few steps back, my understanding was, going back in time a little bit, the idea would have been to develop wastewater treatment within the CID that would have then benefited the chip side of things. So you're actually building infrastructure within the CID, but I don't know what that radius would be, but it would, I think that was the goal, to help support the chip side of things.
That CHIPS facility, or what we lease the ground out on farming and everything, goes up to the frontage road on Highway 50. And you said it would go all the way to Highway 50? Or not Highway 50, but up 275.
Correct. If I remember
It's got a dog leg there, behind the jail house.
It goes straight down 75 to Highway 50, but it doesn't go
Pretty
west
much
on
highway frontage, you might say.
Right.
Correct?
Right.
Okay, that's what I didn't know, whether, you know,
Can we get an updated map showing the boundaries of that CID district so we know exactly what we're talking about?
Yeah, and I don't have that in front of me, but we've got a copy of
What
it.
we put out for lease for the farm ground and the hay, that pretty much, where you can see exactly.
But the CID has the actual boundaries of everything, including the OTA side.
Oh, I got you.
Yeah, it has a defined property description that's also filed with the CID paperwork,
Yeah,
creating the CID.
yeah.
So it's got a legal boundary just like any other property would.
It's not very big, really not, really.
Yeah, it's not a,
This is 50.
I know there's a different line there for what the FSA calls the boundary and what the right-of-way calls the boundary
It's
there.
different than the CID.
Right, right. No, we can get you a copy of what that CID boundary is, so for sure.
And dollars
Yeah.
have to be spent
Right.
every year. I mean, something has to be done every year. Is that, I mean,
No, that's a good question too. No, nothing has to, you can spend those dollars 5 years down the road with nothing until then. It's really the function of this agreement that we have in place with TA that
You
says,
start-
keep this going.
okay,
Yeah,
okay.
yeah. Yeah, so we could, for instance, we could agree with TA with input from the other business owners, like, hey, we're gonna do improvements X, Y, and Z. Maybe it's the monument signage and some paving improvements at TA and something else targeted in the next couple of years, say on the west side of 75, that would benefit some of those other.
I guess that's where I was headed. We could start with the TA side and then go to the other side to satisfy any possible grievance that might arise.
Yeah, because they have a, you know,
Because
they
a
have-
sizable, and I assume the hotel's in it too, isn't it?
Should be, yeah, the hotel is just south of, TA, right?
right,
Yeah,
that's correct.
yeah, hotel is in it.
Okay, so, you know, I mean, all those, well, any one of those three could use work on the parking lot, I'm sure. I mean, I'm not familiar with the hotels, but I'm sure they have something that could be improved.
Yeah. Yeah, and we could I mean, just thinking out loud here, it's up to you all to decide how to do this. We could set aside kind of a pool of funds and say, as and when each of those businesses want to make paving improvements, for instance, they could come to the county based on sort of their pro rata share of sales tax that was collected, or their valuation, or their acreage, any number of things, and say, yeah, the county will, you know, make this set of money, this pool of money available to help you with those improvements when you're ready to go. So maybe that's the way to do it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because one thing that we had spoke about a little bit was, you know, possibly putting a privacy fence in front of the garage there. You know, something we discussed there, legal garage, previous meetings, their legal garage.
Okay.
And would help, you know, the area and the county, and be a compliment to our Welcome to Coffee County sign.
Right. Okay.
In my opinion.
Right.
Would be.
Right. Yeah, I think all that's on the table.
Okay. So, okay.
Very good. Well,
Tyler, to expend those funds, let's say TA agrees tomorrow, does the county have to be a part of the bidding process, or does the county is just basically the bank holding the money, TA comes in and says, here's how much it's gonna cost? I'm just curious from a county bidding perspective, what the county's duties and responsibilities are.
yeah, no, that's a great question too. If the county is doing the work, then you all would probably follow your typical bidding requirements. If the work is performed by one of these private businesses like TA, then they just say it's gonna cost $30,000. Here's our receipt for that $30,000, either that we've spent or that's owed, and you can disperse those funds and not have to worry. If they're coordinating and managing construction, you don't have to worry about public bidding. Yeah, so you can do it either way.
But we want to get, I do anyhow, the most we can get for this tax money that's been collected, so.
Right.
I mean, my thought would be that it has to be bid, but maybe it doesn't.
Well, I mean, I think you'd want, in any case, you'd want some documentation that the costs that you're reimbursing or paying for are reasonable.
Yeah, because there has to be a set amount somewhere. I mean, there can't be an unlimited amount of money that goes into that. There's got to be a set amount somewhere, correct?
Right, no, yeah.
And that's where you would come in.
Right,
I mean,
we would figure out what we think is reasonable from the dollars that have been collected, that we would make available to them. That's right, that's right. And then with respect to bidding, I mean, we could ask them to show us different bids, or if we do the work. I don't know if we want to be doing work as a county on private property.
We need to be involved, but
Yeah.
I mean, entities, private companies sitting on it, I would think would be, maybe that's not within our control, but I don't like it if it's not. I mean, I don't like it if it's not bid, I guess, just to say it
yeah,
out loud.
it needs to be bid, and there needs to be a,
Because I don't,
as long as you're.
I'm not questioning them, but we're not, we didn't make this agreement to have them collect 2% and then funnel it back to themselves. I mean, I don't have a problem with TA, but that's just good business. Verifying where that money's going in my mind,
Yeah. Yeah, Wade, does that answer the question that you had?
Yes.
Okay.
I mean.
No, that's totally reasonable.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right.
Joe also helped with the KSMC side on creating, I guess, draft or bare bones development agreement, and maybe you can explain the development agreement side, creating that, why that's such a specialty area, because it has so many different layers to it.
Right. And I don't know exactly how Joe's role dovetailed with, is it Fisher Patterson?
Right.
That was working with you all as well. But when we work on economic development incentives, it's important to have some sort of agreement in place that sort of has these kinds of benchmarks in it, or spells out the obligations and goes through each of the incentive tools and the pieces of financing that are in place for that particular project, so that there is a shared understanding. The conversations that we're having right now about TA, you can imagine, have to be had on a much larger scale for the CHIPS project. And I don't know, I don't have on the tip of my tongue kind of what those deal points were for the different facets of that agreement or those incentives, but I know that we do have some records on it, and we could delve into that and kind of pick that up.
Is this what you talked about when I asked you with all three of them? Or just with the CHIPS?
Well, Joe was involved with SSM, and maybe that's a good segue into the full faith and credit of the county. I think that needs to be maybe mentioned, because between the jail and then SSM, the full faith and credit, Joe talked quite a bit about the county's full faith and credit is sort of tapped out, and that's why on the CHIP side, the county could not support any more GO bonds.
Thank you, that's exactly right. So, under Kansas law, there are limits on how much debt counties and cities can issue, and it's tied to your assessed valuation. And so, for the jail financing, we've issued 20 million in bonds, and we knew, and those bonds are general obligation bonds. They're backed by the county's full faith and credit. And basically what that means is, if for some reason you're experiencing some kind of financial hardship, as long as those bonds are out there, you will set your property taxes at a level that's necessary for you to collect tax dollars to pay principal and interest on those bonds. You will make those bond payments, full stop. And we went into the jail financing knowing that because of the county's assessed value, we only had about $20 million of debt capacity. And we worked with your financial advisor to make sure that you could make these payments, and worked with Richard to make sure that the numbers all worked. But that also means that if you have that debt capacity kind of tapped out to issue general obligation bonds backed by your full faith and credit, if you have success in landing this CHIPS project and there's a whole bunch of infrastructure that's needed, you have to use kind of other types of debt financing rather than bonds backed by your full faith and credit in order to put that infrastructure in. You still need that infrastructure, you still have to borrow it, but one of the things that we've done, and I can't remember whether it was a year or two ago, we put a public building commission in place. And public building commissions are used to finance buildings, and we allowed it to finance infrastructure for that CHIPS facility as well. The bonds are not backed by your full faith and credit. They're backed by revenues from whatever the facility is that you put in there. And so that's a way for us to be able to unlock additional financial resources for the county, despite the fact that we're up against your debt limit for what we've done on the jail.
So in a case like that, where the development basically is the collateral, so then if that development defaulted, then the ability to collect that money would be limited to that property?
It would.
Okay.
Yeah, it would. And the PBC is set up under state law as a separate legal entity from the county. I think the way we set it up is you all as county commissioners also make up the public building commission, but it's a separate legal entity, it's a separate issuer of the bonds, so it's not backed by your full faith and credit.
So is that the way SSM's bond is set up?
The way SSM's bond is set up is a little different. So SSM's bonds are backed by your full faith and credit, but they're backed also from special assessments on the property. And so the special assessments that get levied and paid each year are sized to pay debt service on the bonds. And if those special assessments are not paid, then after 3 years, those special assessments can go to tax sale just like delinquent property taxes, and you all have priority to foreclose on that special assessment lien, which is essentially the same as a tax lien for foreclosure purposes, and you can sell the property and get reimbursed for that debt service. So SSM is backed by your full faith and credit, but there's actually a separate primary source of funds for those debt service payments, which is the special assessments.
And where do we fall in on the list of creditors?
I think your priority is way up at the top because the tax lien and the special assessment. Yeah, that's right. You would trump, for instance, if they had bank financing and there was a mortgage, your special assessment lien should take priority over the mortgage.
If the bank wants their share, then they have to pay us off, basically.
They do, and as I think about this, I don't know how to think about this, but kind of on the fly, like if there's a bank that's provided financing and SSM defaults on their mortgage, the bank can foreclose that mortgage, but they're not going to foreclose your special assessment because you're higher priority. Now, it probably takes you longer for you to be able to foreclose on that special assessment. If it's delinquent, then the bank can foreclose probably in 6 or 12 months, but your priority is intact.
Okay, Richard's got something to add.
Our loan, well, our bonds are for property inside, because they need a bunch of different machinery, so that's what our bonds are for. But the building is gonna be worth more than what our bonds are for, that amount. So we have a claim on the goods inside if they don't pay, but the loan that came from Magnolia Bank, they're on the hook for our taxes if SSM doesn't pay it. So like I said, if they don't pay for 3 years, we can sell it. Well, the building's gonna be worth more than what we have.
Right.
So they're gonna want to pay that. Why they took that on, I'm happy that they did, because they still have to pay us. And yeah, that takes 3 years to get to, but they're on the hook. Whether SSM is around or not, it doesn't matter. It's Magnolia Bank that's gonna wind up with the bill.
And that was, I was certain that was the case. I just had lots of questions about that, so I was just trying to get that clarified.
And they've paid this year's special assessments in full, so.
Yeah, I mean, I have no reason, there's no problem. I'm not saying that, but just trying to be prudent with our tax dollars. I just, want to let everybody know what our position is.
Right.
I'm gonna throw another one in there with this, and I'm new here on the commission. How is EMP Shields playing into this?
EMP Shield, as I understand it, doesn't have any part of the SSM bond issue. The SSM bond issue, I think, is for SSM's facility, which is not the large CHIPS facility.
Right.
Now, they may have business arrangements, and they may have business arrangements with EMP Shield, but the SSM bond issue is really just for SSM's particular facility.
There's no layers peeling back with them renting out 10,000 square foot of the EMP facility in Lebo?
I don't know that that's part of the SSM deal here.
Okay.
Yeah. If it was, it wasn't part of the financing, to my knowledge, so.
I'm just kind of digging information here and trying to find out how it all meshes together.
Yeah.
Yeah, the bond issue is strictly for machinery to help build the boards.
Okay, and they're transferring, I've been seeing them, they're transferring machinery to the Lebo facility.
Right, that's where they're storing it until they bring it here. Because it has to be in a clean facility. Supposedly they've fixed stuff over there. So I believe they do have a lease with them.
Okay.
For that.
But there's nothing that piggybacks off
With
one
these
another on
bonds.
this too. Okay.
The bonds are strictly for the machinery.
And we have
Could be stored there, but that's what we have a lien on.
we have no financial obligation or anything with EMP. That
Not
clears up
to
a lot.
this.
Okay. Is there something else?
Not that I'm.
Okay.
I don't think there is, Todd.
Thank you, that
All right.
cleared up a lot for me.
Yes. Did that address the questions you had about full faith and credit and?
I think so.
Terrific. Okay.
Lot of moving parts.
Yeah, and that's what we're here for. We're here to try and sort of direct some of that traffic and help keep the big picture in mind as we work through some of these details. And part of our job is kind of to translate for you all, like, what the details mean at the 30,000-foot view so that you can provide the direction and the oversight that everyone expects of you. We can kind of translate that down into the nuts and bolts.
So back on the CID issue, how much money is in the coffers now on that? How much are we talking about that's available for these improvements?
I think there are a couple $100,000 in the coffers now, and part of the agreements that we need to reach here in the short term are how much of those funds that have been collected we collectively want to make available for these initial improvements versus how much do we want to keep in the bank in case something materializes that would be a more prudent use of those funds.
Right.
So.
But that just gives us an idea. I mean, so like a $25,000 or $50,000 parking lot or something.
Right.
Because TA's definitely, their parking lot's bad behind the building. I mean, it's like drive through there and tip your semi over and drive through there in spots.
Right. So, right.
260.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, I just want some idea of, you know, that stuff's expensive, but, you know, asphalt or that kind of work, if you're going with asphalt, rock doesn't hold up under that kind of traffic very well. They need to blade it all the time, is what needs done, but it is asphalt / concrete now / holes. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, so with the funds that we've collected, I think that could go a long way, especially if, I mean, we haven't talked about TA, like matching or anything like that. They're not obligated to do that. They may say no, whatever we have access to is the scope of the work we're gonna do. But even with the funds that we have available, you would think that there could be some real tangible improvements that we could see.
Okay. That's just what I didn't know, but, you know, what we're looking at, what to propose, and then not have the forth enough money to do it, that's all.
Right, yeah, no, we wouldn't put you in that position.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good. Very good.
All right.
Any other questions? Well, thank you all for coming, the introduction for all of you, and look forward to working with you.
Yes.
Does any of your colleagues have anything they'd like us to know about?
Anything to add?
Like Tyler mentioned, I mean, you know, we could probably get you a list of all of our contact information, so you have the ability to get in touch with us.
I'll get you the map.
Yeah. All right, thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah. Thanks for your time.
No, thank you.
Thank you all for
Pleasure to meet you.
coming in, and appreciate it.
Alicia? And you worked with Joe, I mean, you were Joe's assistant, or that, I mean, you worked,
Yeah, I worked for 13 years.
right, okay.
Yep, very familiar with all of your work and
Very good.
drafted the documents.
All right, very good.
Would you mind spelling your name?
Sure. M-I-C-H-I-A.
Okay, Alicia.
Okay,
Mhm.
okay, my hearing's not very good.
Nope,
and I-
and it's
and
a
I
weird-
wrote down about 3
it's a weird
different
different
versions,
name,
so
for
I
sure.
wasn't getting very close. Thank
But
you.
yeah, I'll make sure all the contact information gets.
Okay,
Thank you.
okay, thank you so much.
And I had to spell it wrong.
Yeah. I have some variations on it, all right.
I did too.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Morning.
Maria sent you an email, sending us how we can split our sales tax exemption number. We use that and send it to the Department of Revenue for the SSA road project to give that sales tax exemption to the general contractor.
Okay.
Is that something that's okay, you feel comfortable with us doing?
Yeah, yeah. You don't need me to fill out a project exemption.
No, we'll go in and we have an account that can kind of take care of it all,
Okay.
the CDBG projects through, and it runs pretty efficiently.
Yep.
But we have to submit that.
I will send it to her now. I just
Okay.
saw her email.
All right. GAS Services, Garrett Nordstrom and Dr. Dwayne Ford, USD. I assume that's 243 Waverly Lebo School District CDBG grant, is that correct?
That's correct. Good morning. Garrett Nordstrom from Governmental Assistance Services. Dr. Ford.
Morning.
We're here to present an opportunity to the commissioners. The school district would like to utilize a community development block grant through the State Department of Commerce for an early childhood development center for a building in Lebo that was acquired some time ago. We estimate total project cost of about $680,000 for rehabilitation. And how many we expect that to serve?
Around 40 kiddos.
So, new early childhood development center, but the Kansas State Department of Commerce offers this community development block grant project. It's not unlike the SSM grant that we got, but it's specifically for early childhood development centers, and it will allow for a maximum of $800,000 grant to rehabilitate the building there. We have a total project cost, we estimated at about $680,000. And the grant requires at least a 20% match of the grant itself. So we did some arithmetic out there, and we figured that we'd be eligible to apply for up to $544,000 in a grant for rehabilitation costs against a match from the school district of approximately $136,000. Now, the CDBG program requires that jurisdiction of a municipality or a county apply on behalf of an entity within its jurisdiction, and we feel that the center will have a county-wide benefit. So we've come to the commissioners to get your thoughts on it. Instead of asking Waverly or Lebo to apply on behalf of the school district, we just feel that it has an overall county benefit, and it would be discerning for us to do that. So in this scenario, we would submit an application on behalf, the county would submit an application on behalf of USD, Lebo Waverly School District, and just serve as a pass-through entity in that construction project. We would hope that within about 45 days we would hear of an award. We'd put the engineering firm and architects on a design for that project, and roughly 5-6 months down the road, we will be able to, put it out to bid to a general contractor for rehabilitation. Hopefully, we'd be done with construction in 18 months, and we'd have kids in the building in 20-24 months. So, what questions do you have?
Is there, with this, I think it's a great deal with early childhood stuff, but with this grant, for some reason, something happens with 243, would there be any default that would come back on the county as for funds to be recouped?
No, typically we've been been doing CDBG for 37 years. We've never seen that happen. The money that Lebo Waverly would be putting up would be in cash, and we have a pretty strong and vetted interlocal agreement between counties and counties jurisdictions and local entities. And so that would be spelled out. We run that through Wade's office to make sure that language was correct.
Okay, and then it said that through your letter here that Angie put forth, that the monies would be directed through the county. Would there be any other clerical or any other obligations that the county would have to do for this?
Not at all. The school district itself is going to budget for expense of grant preparation, and then only other costs besides construction, rehabilitation would be architectural, engineering, oversight, and then administration of that sort of CDBG project. So we're going to have a discussion with the school district to come on, and the county would hire us on behalf of the school district to be the administrator. And we've gotten pretty efficient to make sure every dollar is accounted for and everything's auditable.
So the monies would go, the county would apply, the dollars would then go to your office, is that correct?
Oh, no. I'm sorry. Every time we have a pay application from the general contractor, we would submit that to CDBG.
Oh, okay.
The CDBG would drop the money in the county's account, and the county would pay its portion in a check either directly to the contractor, and then USD 243 would make up that sort of ratio of match in cash every time.
And this building was the medical center up there, is that correct?
Yeah, we already purchased it. It's been 2 years in the making, so. But we're trying to expand. Right now, our current daycare in Lebo, we have 20 kiddos, we're at max capacity. And right now, we can only take down to 2.5-year-old students, and we would like to take clear down to birth.
I was going to say, with this facility, take.
Yeah, because we have a need for that in the community, and we have a need for larger daycare. That's the issue that we're running into right now. We're maxed out. We're maxed out for even the summertime. And this is also a tool to help us draw teachers in, especially young teachers. I don't know if you guys are aware of the teacher shortage that's happening around the state right now. we're 20 miles from Emporia State University, and for the first time ever, we're having to recruit elementary teachers, which is crazy, but that's what's going on right now. And it used to be, if we had an elementary job open, we'd have 50 applications, just because people wanted to stay in the area, and that's just not the case anymore. So anything that we can do to try to draw young families into our communities, to try to keep, them in our communities is helpful, so.
With the financial situation of the district, is this gonna have any impact upon this project?
No, we have the funds available for this. Right now, this is self-funded, through the money that people are paying in.
People are paying in?
Yeah, the clients.
The parents of the children?
Yeah, the parents of
okay.
the children that are paying. But one of the things that we try to do, we try to make sure that the daycare is very affordable. We're not trying to make a profit or anything on this, so we don't have like a profit that's why we're seeking grants to pay for all the things.
How many do you have on your waiting list?
Off the top of my head, I'm not sure what the number is right at the moment, but I do know there's several. We've done a few surveys. I wasn't quite ready for today. Garrett just contacted me about the grant becoming available just the other night. But we've done surveys in the past, and I know that there's several people that are, especially in the birth to the 2.5 range, we have several people there.
Yeah, I know daycare is really
Huge issue, huge
It's
problem.
a huge
need,
issue.
whatever you want to call it.
The other thing is we're also trying to be extremely reliable, like we put out a calendar every year of exactly what dates we're going to be open so the parents know. I know some of you have had children in the past. I know for myself, I had 4 children, and the worst thing was to show up to the daycare with your kids, and they're like, oh, I'm sorry, my kid's sick today, so you can't bring them here, and you're like, oh, now what am I going to do? Well, we put out a calendar. These are the days that we're going to be open. These are the days that we're going to be closed for cleaning or training or whatever, and which are very few days. So that way parents know that they have a reliable service.
So the grant would be submitted by the county for the school district. Is that?
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Yeah, that's correct.
That's correct.
And you would do the grant writing you would submit that grant for the county.
That's correct.
Okay.
For the county on behalf of.
On behalf of the
Yeah.
USD 243. Okay.
So Garrett, do they need to make a motion in support of this?
I don't think so. I think we want this information, just bring you the information, but upon just sort of a nod, what we're going to do next is we're going to dial in the cost, and then we're going to publish a public hearing notice in the paper, come back. I think we can do it in 2 weeks if we can get on the schedule, so I need to look at the publication dates. I think we can. I think we might be able to get in by the end of the day.
Yeah, probably.
Sure.
I'm sorry, I forgot. Excuse me. We would put it in the day, and then it would have to be in for 7 days. We'd hope 2 weeks.
And then you would come back and do what? And then that's when we would make the motion to, is that when, as commissioners, that's when we would do our thing?
That's right. We would present the project officially in a public hearing, allow for public comment. We'd put a couple of resolutions in front of you.
Okay.
One would be a resolution for authority to apply on behalf, which certifies that the county's entity has the responsibility. Also, a operation and maintenance resolution. We have to get those numbers by the end of the day. We may or may not be able to get those, and so if not, we'll be in touch soon. And then a couple of other documents, just signing the grant and reviewing the costs, and that's as simple as that. We submit it we'll probably tomorrow submit a pre-application to the Department of Commerce, get their feedback immediately, and then, in 2 weeks we'd submit the full application as soon as we could.
Very good.
45 days out, we'd know.
Very good.
Well, I think you got a positive reaction from everyone here, so.
Okay, good. We'll see you in a couple
How I
weeks.
read it.
Andrew, we'll let you know about that public hearing notice. The operation and maintenance from the architect is something we want to dive down into real quick, but I'll get on the phone with them on the way home.
And I sent the tax ID stuff.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Don.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you for the information. Okay. Road and Bridge Superintendent Ryan Durst, Department update. Morning, Ryan.
Good morning. How's everybody doing?
Good, how are you?
Okay.
Doing all right. I don't have a whole lot. One motion, just some discussion. I did have one resignation last week. The motion I have today is to fill that position. No call-outs this week, so. And this would be just to advertise the hire, fill a current vacancy. Not looking to add a position by this motion we have, so.
Okay, well, as for a motion based upon the recommendation of the Road and Bridge Superintendent to advertise and hire one heavy equipment operator, this request will fill a current vacant position within the department due to a voluntary resignation. I'll move.
I'll second.
Been moved by Thompson and seconded by McCurry. Have any more discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes.
All right, thanks. Next, just some discussion for the street around the courthouse. Ryan with River City reached out to me, and I know there's the jail project's winding down. They'll be doing some of the finished work around the jail, and just the tie-in to the street. You know, it's got some issues, some maintenance issues, needs some work. You know, I know they have some money set aside for basically just the tie-in point from the new into the existing street. I guess his question was, do they still want to tie into what's there, or do we want to look at doing something to make that, improve that street before they tie into it? I think you guys need to look and decide what you want to do out there, but I could definitely see that some asphalt, you know, a mill and overlay and some patchwork. You know, I know Kilo's going to be on site, so it could be something as simple. You know, I've talked with them, just give them a heads up that you guys might want to see about getting a price to have some of that work done. I believe there's $12,500 set aside for that tie-in stuff. That money could be utilized towards whatever work the county would have done. I mean, that's outside of the jail project. You know, that's county owned around there, so.
That is county owned.
Yeah, I think that on the west side, I believe we own clear to the sidewalk, and then the north side is similar, but just start some discussion with you guys. I mean, it's, you know, just wanted you to be aware of that. I don't know what you guys want to do there, but I know, like I say, I know Kilo's going to be on site, so there wouldn't be a mobilization cost, so you know.
You got any guesstimate what it might cost?
No, I mean, I think I could probably get that from Ken Massagill. I met with him, and he talked like maybe a couple-inch mill around there and some patchwork, and then a new overlay on top of that. That would go basically from all the way around. So
I suppose, you know, the problem with them giving some kind of an estimate, you know, then do we have to bid it, or, you know?
That'll be up to you guys. I mean, I know a lot of times, like it down at Leroy, you know, we have a couple smaller projects, couple intersections that, you know, I know Kilo is going to be down there doing some asphalt work for Leroy, so I met with them, and they're giving me a price by the co-op intersection there, just a couple intersections that need some work. And typically, like on something like that, those prices are pretty reasonable. They're very small projects, and so typically we wouldn't bid something out like that because you would never compete with the cost of them already being on site.
But we probably would have to bid this.
Well, I think it would depend on, there's a magic number that
Yeah.
you get to that would require it going out for competitive bidding, so having an estimate to have an idea of whether that would need to be done or not. And I'd encourage each of you to go out and look at the existing asphalt. I know,
it's not very good.
Driving right in, it's been patched over and over, and if you're not careful, in the winter, you can drive through and.
Well, and it had issues before this project started, and so we held off on any maintenance even at the county. We kept it very minimal on what we would do there, as far as patching wise, just because we knew that with the project coming on and potentially it would get tore up some, and there's no point in going there and doing a bunch of new work and then having it get wiped out.
And I've been out there 2 or 3 times and driving around, and something needs to be done. I'm not sure exactly what, but if you could come up with an estimate of dollars, but something definitely needs to be done there.
What kind of a time frame are we looking at?
I don't.
Kilo being here all day?
I'm not for sure on that, but I'm guessing
They're
it's
getting ready
too
to
long.
pull the trailer out and demo where they're sitting.
I mean, if they're gonna be here soon, and you're talking about possibly going out for bids, do we even have time? So.
Well, we'd have to do it pretty quick.
Well, and I would say that this would have to be a discussion with River City, but, you know, I would think that some of that work could take place. I just don't think you wouldn't want that tied into the old asphalt there. You know, you'd still have to have something there, keeping a barrier there like it's got now, until the street work would come in at that point. And that's how I would assume that could work out. But,
Because that project wouldn't be done until after the project that's being done.
correct.
So if we've got some time there to.
I mean, I think for now, I'll just keep the conversation with Ken Maskill at Kilo, and, you know, he come and looked at it, and he kind of measured it up, and he was supposed to get back with some estimates. So, you know, maybe hopefully get that this week and get that information back to you guys next week. And
If we end up having to wait and get bids and they've already pulled off, that's not a bad thing, because we'd have all the heavy equipment, everything out of there, and then wouldn't put any damage or stress upon a new.
Yeah, that wouldn't be a bad thing, but
Right.
if it could fit in at the same time.
it would just be the mobilization cost
Yeah.
is essentially what you're going to save.
And a lot of times that seems to be a real factor, like some of these bids we get, if somebody's on site, it's huge.
No, absolutely it is. Yeah.
Timing would potentially be ideal too, because school won't be in session.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
So that does, I mean,
Well, yeah, Burlington's gonna be bidding their street projects too. Whoever that, I know a lot of times Kilo's a little bit or
And I think Kilo may have their projects. I don't know if I want to say that's already been done, but maybe not.
I think
But if
for
they're
some
gonna,
reason, I think it has been.
if they're gonna be in town later on in the summer, you know, it might work
Yeah.
out too.
might be a possibility then.
Yeah, I just wanted to get discussion started on that. It's kind of thrown in my lap. And next, I just discussed a little bit about some landfill stuff. Kind of operational cost and just some history, I guess, to start with. The landfill's never been intended to basically offset its operational costs from the tipping fees, so I think that's important to realize as I start talking about some of this. In the last 17 years, there was only 2 years we took enough in tipping fees to cover the operating cost in 2 years. Every 5 years or so, there's been transfers basically from the general fund into solid waste to compensate and offset some of that. Back in 2018, there was transfers totaling $220,000. And then in '24, there were 7 transfers totaling over $80,000. I believe Angie brought up the other day, we need to transfer again. The auditors would like something done different instead of transferring all the time, and just, I guess we just need to figure out what's the best thing to do there. Angie did mention that, you know, if we could just pay the personnel out of the general, which is where the funds are coming from anyway, that would keep us from having to do these periodic transfers.
And so if they were transferred into the general, that would keep you in the block then?
Yeah. So, I mean, basically, we can kind of...
And then if you took the salaries out of that, then that money, if you did accumulate some money, then that would be used like for a new cell or whatever.
Well, correct, and that would be, so, yes, that would be something, as we're looking at our equipment replacements and honestly, even some of the operational cost on work that we do out there, Road and Bridge donates a lot of time from the guys I send out there. The last couple of years, I've started charging like materials rock and stuff like that on some special projects, you know, and reimbursing Road and Bridge from landfill, because that's where the money's being spent at. You know, that'd be one thing, you know, moving forward. If we're paying personnel out of the general fund, we would start accumulating a few, I don't know, roughly around $50,000 a year maybe. That would give us a few dollars for, you know, future equipment to go towards that, or even just some of the projects we have looking to go on out there. New haul roads and stuff like that would be beneficial for us. But yeah, on this sheet, this is just kind of a working document. It's kind of crude that I put together that I use, but it basically just shows the last year's history on the expenditures and the revenues and kind of where we've landed there. I mean, you can see everything's in the red except for 2021. You know, a lot of those numbers, it bases on, you know, what we take in a year. There's a lot, you know, some of the years that we take in more money, usually there's something special like a train derailment or a special waste, something big that's come in that we've, you know, made some good dollars on.
So if you were to take personnel costs out of general fund,
yeah,
I mean, would you lose sight of what the true operating costs are for the landfill? I mean, so what if you make some transfers every once in a while? I think it kind of gives a good picture of what it actually costs.
No, I agree, and we would still have, that information, but the same dollars, it's the same dollars as, I mean, they're coming from general, whether, you know, it's my understanding, and Angie might be able to explain this better, but, I mean, the auditors they don't want transfers going all the time into solid waste. I mean, is my understanding, is that correct, Angie, or?
Yeah, I mean, I was trying to do one every month to keep us from going in the red, but we could just do a lump sum transfer if we had an indication of what our overage might be to cover.
Was that what they were wanting, our transfers numbers to come down, or was it just that we were transferring?
Well, we keep going in the red.
Right.
And so in order to avoid from that happening and us having to do transfers.
They don't like the red numbers?
Yeah.
Okay.
But would that appease them with the one-time transfer?
We could check.
Well, I mean, back in 18, that's what we did. We transferred $200,000 back then.
I mean, we transferred a lot to not have to transfer every year.
Yeah.
At one point in time.
Yeah.
This last year, we were transferring every month, and I'd miss a month because we missed a bill or something that got paid, so. But we can find out if they're okay if we do like one big lump that would carry over from year to year and then not have to do it maybe for a few years.
Because that's what happened in 2018, correct? One large transfer, and then that covered until 24, it looks like.
Yeah.
I think about the end of 23 or the
Yeah.
beginning of 24 is when.
Yeah. So would you be okay with that too, possibly?
Yeah, I'm game for whatever there. It's just whatever makes it easiest and satisfies the auditors.
I can check with them and see if they would be okay with that and explain that you guys would like to see the true picture of.
Well, they just don't want to see the transfer every month or every other month.
Yeah.
Yeah. And this.
Right.
I guess I'm probably okay with doing it either way, because I understand your point, Mark, but those numbers would be on file at least of what our employees cost, you know. If we wanted to add that to it, either way would work for me.
And that's with me, either way, whatever makes it work for the auditors.
It's a needed service.
Yeah.
All right. That is all I had. I don't know if you guys have.
I do think that maybe at our next meeting, we need to revisit what we did in roundtable about Woodson County, out-of-county fees, and rectify that.
Yeah, it should be an item for discussion, yeah.
Just as far as the reduced rate that Woodson County gets, like Allen County gives, and, okay. I'll bring some information next week, and we can discuss that.
That'd be good.
Okay,
So, all right.
okay.
Anything else?
Otherwise, things going good.
Yeah, good. Good, going all right.
I see a lot of road work being done. It looks nice.
Yeah, the weather the last couple of weeks, we kicked off on some asphalt, crack filling and whatnot. Be a little slow here for a couple of days.
It just-
Cooler temperatures and rain.
And just the county roads in general, I mean, it just appears like things are getting not too good.
That's that, yeah, I mean, it's just that time of year, it's, I don't know, it starts to get busy and hectic and crazy and,
Yep.
nope, everything's going good. So, all right, well, I appreciate it.
This back, Ryan.
Yeah, sure. Thank you, Ryan. You wanna take a break?
Yeah.
Okay. Why don't we take a break and come back at 11:19? Okay, we're back in, and it's our 11:20 appointment, Tracy Jones, interest in the library board.
Yes.
Welcome.
I'm sure you've all received my application for that. It's just something that I thought about for several years. I think our library is such a tremendous asset to our community, and through my involvement in the hospital, I see our efforts to recruit people into the community, and I know the important role the library plays in that. So it's just been something that I've looked at for several years, and I have some time on my hands, so I would like to volunteer to serve on that board if it's at your pleasure. What questions do you have for me?
Thank you for taking interest.
Yes. Exactly. Can you tell us a little about yourself?
Oh, absolutely.
For people out there?
Absolutely, yes. And I'm sorry, that's my phone going off. That's embarrassing. I was actually, I was actually born and raised here. I left for a few years for college. Lived in Emporia for a few years, so this community means a lot to me. Like I said, born and raised here. I went to college at Baker, and then eventually came back here. I freelanced for a few years with a couple of state agencies doing marketing. Worked at Ottawa University for a few years as their communications manager, and then came back here and have been the marketing director at the hospital for 17 and a half years, which seems like a lifetime. That makes me one of the old timers there. And I've been involved in a lot of community activities here. I'm involved in a lot of state organizations through my position at the hospital. And like I said, I've looked at the library for several years, and I think I have a lot I could offer them, and I'm really impressed with what they do already, so would love to be able to support that.
Okay.
I have 2 grown children. One is in Cincinnati, which is way too far away, and the other is in Lawrence with my grandchildren.
Okay.
At least grandchildren are probably close, right?
They are close enough for me to spoil them, yes.
So, guess we just have the room opening.
Do we have a full board right now, or is there actually a vacancy? I know there's a term coming due at the end of the month.
Yeah, so it would be, you would be making it effective, 5/1/2025.
No, but I mean, is it a full board right now?
It is a full
I mean,
board.
cause I know we had a vacancy on the airport board.
Right, yeah, this one, I don't know if she's reapplying yet.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
So basically, we're,
Our
until
application.
the end of the month, we're taking applications, right?
Yeah, our application's open until the end of the month, I believe, am I correct?
So just wanna make sure we didn't jump the gun.
Yeah, yeah. Okay.
No, I thought there was an open position.
Well, that's what I.
It may be if she doesn't reapply,
Okay.
but, I mean, it still could be. I mean, I don't know.
That's why I was wanting to put this a full board right now,
Yeah.
because if there was a vacancy, then we could appoint to, the unexpired term.
Yeah. I'm not aware that there's one,
Not yet.
so, but we're very interested.
There's one on the airport board, but we filled that this morning.
I'll take a pass on that. No, I had seen it listed in the newspaper.
Okay,
That's
yeah,
why I
yeah.
applied.
Well, when these positions come time for them to be renewed, we put out, it's become our policy that we put out people to turn in applications, and then we try to choose the best applicant from those people, so we're very happy to have you volunteer your services. They're in short supply, people that want to do a good job and volunteer for a sometimes thankless job.
I understand.
Okay, well, we appreciate it.
And I was asked to, before we adjourn this little conversation, to remind you that we would love to have you join us at the hospital for lunch today.
They will be there.
Before you came in.
They sent me a message that says, please sit in.
Where do we need to go?
Come in the south doors and come to the conference room.
Okay. Okay.
We'd love to see you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay.
We're getting a little technical thing going here, so.
Okay. We need that for it to start, or? Okay.
And that has to do with this.
Art, did you bring some wrenches you could help work on that or anything?
Got ice strips and a hammer, well, that's.
I was gonna say, a hammer might work.
Shake it and kick it.
Either that or get a bigger hammer, right?
It used to be Don needs a solution, get the hammer.
Yeah.
I thought we had set mine up too at one point, but I couldn't get mine to go either.
We have it on a laptop out in the pickup, it, with this hardwired from our laptop to the. That'd be a cable.
Does that work? Okay. That was really cable, it should get that.
Yeah.
Hey, mine might work here. I think I got the, it says it's not connected, but I think if you did the YouTube.
Yeah, I was disappointed. This block quote stuff is like, it's really college has franchise.
It's a good thing I'm not trying to do this.
Yeah, me too.
That's last strike here.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Okay, do you want me to drive it or do you want me to put it there?
Oh,
You can?
if you can put it there, that'd be awesome,
Okay.
or you can just change it.
I can do that, that's fine. I have no problem with that. She'll let you drive.
You said it, that means.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Got it.
Okay. And you know where it's at? Are you ready for it?
Okay, so Eric and our friend, 24th at high risk regarding food grade byproduct. Good morning. And a lot of the other people here about the same issue?
Correct. Yeah, we'll introduce them.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Actually, as you do that,
Good morning, guys.
Morning.
As most of you know, you all know me, but I'm Art Friend, for those watching on YouTube, from Lebo, and this is my brother Eric. We're here today along with several of our neighbors to discuss a potential industrial waste disposal site that recently come to our attention. Last week, Emery Weems from KDHE provided information about an out-of-county company disposing of industrial waste in Coffee County. There was a new disposal site mentioned that is to be located near Lebo at 24th and Iris Road. Eric owns the property directly north and also across the road to the west from this location. I rent the properties that Eric owns as well as the property directly to the east of this site. The location affects many close neighbors, and several are here today to share our concerns. Eldon Thomas lives directly north of the property, or she's directly south of the property. Charlie and Sarah McCormick live west, half a mile of the location. Bruce and Kathy Cope live about a half a mile or just over half a mile to the north. Jared Basil lives northeast of there, about a half a mile. And Roger Thomas is also a local neighbor. Then we have a couple other neighbors that were unable to be here today, but they expressed concern about that as well. One is our dad, Ron Friend, and the other is Ron Smith, who lives about 3/4 of a mile to the north of this site. Eric's got a PowerPoint with showing the site better and some of the concerns.
Thanks, Art. So I'm going to go through and just talk a little bit about kind of what we know and what we don't know, and a potential path forward that could address all the concerns that there are. Kind of reiterating some of what Art said, this 80-acre tract of land in Coffee County located at 24th and Iris Road was purchased at the end of 2024 by an industrial waste disposal company for the principal operation of industrial waste disposal. As the principal activity on this property is to produce income from disposal of industrial waste, primary concern here is that this use does not meet the criteria of the A1 agricultural zoning of that location. And based on our understanding of the Coffee County zoning regulations, should require a special use permit. So what do we know about the operations of this space? Not much, really. We've been trying to find information. Area residents have been in contact with KDHE, as well as representatives, both the president and vice president of the Industrial Waste Disposal Company, and looked to other industrial waste disposal sites as examples of what to expect. I myself have put in 2 requests to the Kansas Open Records Act to the state to try and find more information, but so far I've received input that there is no information available. Part of that is trying to find the right keywords, I guess, so that they can match up what documentation is there. But again, it's not much transparency there. We're not able to get the information, understand what the actual chemicals being applied in the industrial waste, nutrient levels, things like that. So why the concern? The planned change in land use has high probability of creating a public nuisance and polluting local bodies of water without the risk being evaluated and mitigations defined. Proper compliance can only be ensured through requirements incorporated into the necessary zoning permit. I want to point out, as far as the public nuisance criteria of that, this key word in here is unreasonably. This is not an operation that, as we're familiar with some of the land application of waste in the area, is a temporary activity or in between crop cycles. This is a permanent, continuous operation for the disposal of industrial waste. So when it comes to public nuisance activities, that could be health hazards, pollution, dust, traffic, offensive conditions such as odor, noise, light. Some of these activities happen after dark. So as you're familiar with LED lighting on tractors, truck traffic after dark, going past the houses, things like that.
I've got a question.
Yeah.
So you said this would be continuous use, this wouldn't be farmed? I mean, this wouldn't be broken up by farming in between or anything?
There's possibility of farming the way they discuss it to us, explain to us is
I didn't
possibly, no, you're fine, to farm half of it one year and the other half the next, or perhaps
So is,
half of it.
so is this it right here? Is that,
Yeah, this whole
Okay.
track there. So on the previous slide there, it's
Okay.
encompassed in
all right,
that.
fine,
We'll get to.
all right, thank you.
But they were talking about leaving half of it open to apply stuff and only cropping half of it.
Okay.
Now, they've got several locations, so that may change, we don't know.
Right.
And we're trying to find information to know for sure to answer that question.
I
because we don't know
didn't mean to
either.
interrupt, you just said that, and it struck me, because on some of the other operations, I think they farm,
They rotate it.
they rotate it,
Yeah.
so.
But when it doesn't have a crop, it's being applied continuously for months on and end.
Right,
Then they'll raise a crop. Once that crop comes off, they're gonna go back to doing this months on end again, day in, day out, 6 days a week.
Good question. So when it comes to water pollution, this is another key concern for this area. And we'll get to one of the slides here in a minute where the runoff of this location all feeds directly into the Frog Creek watershed and into detention lakes there where that pollution would be accumulated. That can lead to harm to aquatic life, disruption of ecosystems, and much of this water in that area feeds wildlife. You go through there, there's geese, deer, everything else that also feeds livestock in the area. That's the water source for many of the local farmers for livestock, as they're either wintering cattle or doing things there. So that's the other one of the other key concerns there. So what does this location look like, and what's the general area? So the tract of land is here in the black outline. The yellow dots are residences there. This one right off the border is where I'm planning on building my house. I'm working with Carl on locating a lagoon and getting that set up. So that for me is very concerning. The blue areas are the bodies of water to there. So we'll kind of get to a little bit more detail in the next slide, but this kind of shows where Frog Creek here feeds into a detention lake. I believe that's Jared Basil's there. And then this other stream here captures a lot of that water and feeds directly into this detention lake. And then this quarter of the field down here feeds directly into my fishing pond there. And then part of that here as well, this is used to be it's a reclaimed rock quarry pit that we're turning into a wetland habitat area for wildlife. And then that overflows as well into this Frog Creek watershed area, into that detention lake. Overall, there's 10 residences, including the one that I'm planning there, within 1 mile. 6 of those are directly in line with the prevailing south wind from that location. So you can see that corridor right up there, that wind is just going to bring it all. Any odors from that will directly impact the residents to the north. The runoff from this field from all directions runs into the Frog Creek watershed. The other area that's with water pollution, and this is specific especially to nutrient pollution, when you think about excess nutrients leaching through into groundwater. This area has a shallow soil depth with a rock ledge underneath, as evidenced by the quarrying activity in the space and previous core drilling in the area. And so the water will seep through the ground and then follow that rock ledge and come up in other areas. So there's not a very high depth of soil there for that to be absorbed into. As I mentioned, surface water runoff goes directly into bodies of water from all parts of this site. So this is kind of a rough diagram of that. It's not exact to a topographic, but this quarter of the field goes into my fishing pond there. This quarter of the field runs directly into this creek that runs across the corner of the property and feeds into that detention lake that starts right up there. And then most of this half of the field here feeds into Frog Creek that feeds into this detention lake up there. So there's not a lot of space there for absorption of nutrients and things like that. Runoff, especially in a saturated soil, is going to go into those waterways. I mentioned the rock ledge there and concerns about that. That actually comes out, that rock ledge comes out right into that wildlife area here and drains into this water that we're setting up as that habitat area. So that has a high risk there. And then also just general wet spots around in other areas where we'd experienced that during farming, where that water comes up to the surface from the rock ledge.
So there's a quarried out area, there's a deep hole there where you're going to have, where it holds water.
Yep, that's been dammed up during the reclamation. You can see here the water. This is from a year ago, but we've been working on improving the dam there and getting the water back up. I'm working with NRCS to make improvements to the space for growing the different marsh grasses and things for the wetlands.
Okay.
And that whole space, that's what we're turning that into. And so there's concerns around that. Accumulation of pollutants. It's known that pollutants, especially nutrients in runoff, accumulate in more stagnant bodies of water, specifically detention lakes, which all this water runs into right there. So the likely scenario is that that pollution potential there is not going to necessarily impact Melbourne further downstream, but will accumulate and be a higher impact to the local area in those bodies of water. As far as we're aware, no environmental impact or water pollution study, sampling, or monitoring is planned off the premises of that property. From our discussions, and this comes from our discussions with the company as well as KDHE, but the point that was made was that there's no requirement for that, and that is true because the Kansas statutes say that if there's a public nuisance or environmental risk, that this activity isn't allowed to happen anyway. So the state of Kansas doesn't have requirements for monitoring off property. So that's a kind of a gap in the overall scope of things.
Something else I might want to point out is there's no permit required for them to do this. There's an application they fill out and they receive an approval letter, but there's no permit, from my understanding of KDHE.
But it's approved through.
It is, yeah.
I mean,
They haven't approved it yet, to my knowledge.
Right, but
And Carl might know more.
Right, as of this morning, I haven't heard anything whether they've approved this location or not for land application.
But that's the process.
Right, that's the process. It's called beneficial use land application. It's an approval letter.
But there's no permit issued, so it's not like they can reject the permit when the permit doesn't have any, I don't know what stipulations or requirements based on that approval letter. It just says, just a letter, yes, you can do this, with no permit required on that. So it's not like KDHE is monitoring this because there's no permit.
To the best of my knowledge, there's not a public comment period on that. They approved what they received the application, they reviewed the application, yes, but as part of the application, they do have to submit an analysis of the water that they will be applying to the land. They plug that into their formula, then it determines their application. That's an approval letter. There's not actually a public hearing process that would be if there was a permit, like Art's trying to define. We're on the same page with that?
Yeah, I think so. Because if we were to build a lagoon, like Eric wants to build a lagoon there, he has to have it lined with clay and everything like that. Carl would approve it. So that way to make sure nothing leaches out on the shallow rock ledges there. But in this situation here, there's no permit required. There's nobody inspecting to make sure this doesn't leach out into surrounding properties.
So the analysis of this product as far as NPK, so what kind of analysis are they showing? I mean, have you seen anything like that?
That's exactly, that information and what they submitted to the state is what I've requested through the Kansas Open Records Act. We haven't received any information yet.
So you don't know exactly how much nitrogen, phosphate, potassium?
Just what there's been discussions of in conversation. That's the
When we met with him the other day, he said it's 10% nitrogen.
Per ton of product?
Total, yeah.
Yeah. So if they got a semi-load of 50,000 pounds of water and solid mixed,
right,
then there'd be 10% of that would be nitrogen. But they're applying
and
the stuff.
things.
Right,
yeah.
Right.
There's 33 items that's requested on that application.
Do what?
33 items that's on that application. I mean, besides MP and K.
Right, there's other items.
So there would be 30 other items that would be on that application, such as metals, to make sure that there wasn't applying something that could leave the property.
Sure.
But
But
there
there's
would be a 5-minute rate in which it wouldn't cause it.
Okay.
That's the theory.
There's discussions that they're being, from the conversations we had with the company, there's so many different companies they deal with, out-of-state companies even, as far as getting the product in, that there's so much variation on this. Who knows, because there's no monitoring by KDHE.
So, as kind of mentioned before, as far as expected public nuisance factors, this is based off of research as well as experience with other local sites that do this activity to get a better understanding of what to expect. Odor, this has been demonstrated to be an issue up to a mile away from other sites. Noise, daily tractor operations and tanker trucks, if you break it down by some of the maximum allowed, The just rough estimates, and this is average, so it could be higher or lower, but that could be up to 25 or so trucks per day, tankers, to that site. I think the conversation, the current status of that was more 8 to 10 level, but we're looking at what the potential is because this is a permanent site.
They can apply up to 1 million gallons per acre of product a year. So there's a lot of product coming in, there's potential for a lot of applications, and to get that much, they're working the ground consistently after it's applied, to dry it out to apply more. And if they're saturating the ground with this stuff, that's why our concern of is leaching with shallow soils and rock ledges right there.
And then I mentioned tractor operation and truck traffic after dark. This isn't we're putting crops on in the spring, we're harvesting in the fall. This is 6 days a week, running out there and, LEDs turning at the end of the field. We had some information that, this is going to be like an 8 to 5 operation, but I know the tractors were running after dark on Friday when I was out at the farm there that could see them running out there. So there's no requirements. That's part of I think the issue is there's kind of the norm.
There's no checks or balances.
Exactly. On the environmental side, nutrient runoff, the maximum recommended nitrogen application for corn in eastern Kansas is about 230 pounds per acre. I think it's typically much less in Coffee County. I know typically we see a lot of 150, 160 pounds per acre. Just based on the quantities that are allowed for this from the state, from Topeka, this is based on 1 to 3% nitrogen. So I know there was 10% in conversation, but I'm just trying to be, conservative as far as give the benefit of the doubt. It's going to be on the lower side. That would still result in somewhere between 20,000 pounds of nitrogen per acre per year to 240,000. A little bit of a difference from 230. So what that means is a drastic increase in nutrient levels in surface runoff and leaching through the soil. When you look at leaching activities, there's a gradient in concentrations. So when you're applying 200 pounds per acre, there's a gradient down from there as you get away. Well, if you're coming from 20,000 pounds per acre, that gradient is much higher all the way out, including off the actual property where it's being applied. Phosphorus, metals, or presence of any detergents, caustics, acids that are typical in the CIP or clean in place processes of these processing facilities is unknown. We don't have any information, but could also contribute to water pollution. We know that some of these components are in wastewater, typical wastewater that is discharged from these processing facilities, but we don't really know what the makeup is of what's being received here. And then just in terms of overall volumes, Kansas statutes define the maximum reasonable quantity of water for crop irrigation in eastern Kansas at 325,000 gallons per acre. So anything in excess of that really has no benefit or use for agriculture. It's just saturation and runoff. So that is defined as far as what that limitation for ag use should be by the state of Kansas. So is it beneficial for agriculture? Nitrogen's good, right? Well, in certain quantities, yes. Beneficial use is to provide a tangible benefit or value, such as for irrigation, for example, while respecting legal limitations and environmental concerns. This part of the definition I thought was interesting. The use of the material is for a legitimate beneficial purpose other than a means to discard the material. So for beneficial use, it cannot be just to get rid of the material. It's got to have a benefit to the rate or the quantity of material being applied. So application of industrial waste that exceeds 230 pounds per acre of nitrogen and/or 325,000 gallons of water per acre per year has no beneficial use for agriculture and is being conducted simply to discard the waste.
The amount above that level would be simply to discard the waste.
Exactly. So, in conclusion, and the main point of this is the principal activity on this property, the use of the land has changed. It's no longer being used just to farm. So the principal activity on this property now is to produce income from the disposal of industrial waste. So this land use does not meet the criteria of A1 agricultural zoning. The associated risk of public nuisance and harm to the environment and health should require a special use permit per the Coffee County zoning regulations. So what's the ask? We request that the County Commission refer this land use to Planning and Zoning to initiate a special use permit and/or utilize the process defined in the Coffee County zoning regulations for the Coffee County zoning administrator and county attorney to complete and publish a certificate of compliance to verify that the new land use by the new owner is being used only for agriculture per Coffee County zoning regulations section 2-102. And the key point around this is section 3-100E4, when any land or accessory buildings or structures cease to be used only for agriculture, then it shall be subject to the applicable provisions of these regulations. And the provision is that it requires a special use permit to use it for that activity. Appreciate your time and consideration on these requests, and we'd be happy to answer any additional
Yeah,
Yeah,
do
you
you
guys
guys have any other questions while we're here? Or comments, concerns?
Heidi, what, I mean, what,
So, this sounds like a complaint about a property at 24 Planter.
24th and Iris.
Sorry, Iris.
Yes.
Sorry about that. Okay. So, what would need to happen first is someone would need to file a complaint with me. I'll do an investigation, and we'll go through the process. Like you just mentioned about the agricultural resistance certificate, I would determine if it's ag or not based on the information provided in the regulations, and then we'd see if there are special uses required or not. But I'd have to have that written complaint form in hand first before I can go out and do the investigations and dive into the regs further for you, so.
Actually, a couple of slides.
So-
So do you make that determination on your own, or does that go to the board for the zoning?
A zoning compliance certificate is just a zoning administrator action. It would be my determination based on what they provide and based on our regulations, and of course the state statutes as well that govern our planning and zoning as well.
Okay, so if we appeal, if we disagree with your opinion, we appeal, what happens to appeal that? That goes before the zoning board then at that time?
It goes to the Board of Zoning Appeals and the regulations. So that can be appealed through that process.
Correct?
I would have to check into that one.
Okay, I think that's it.
Check into that.
Yeah, so I actually copied the text from the zoning regulation there on the first sub-bullet as to how it.
so Carl, application has been made to KDHE for,
To the best of my knowledge, they have an application for the site, but no approval.
so no approval, so.
It's been issued at this time. Before,
Okay, so there's a complaint being filed, so what happens if KDHE approves this? I mean, with a complaint on, that'll be on file, how does that process work then?
I'm not sure they would, Kate, I don't know how it would refer back to us.
Because see, what I'm saying is that,
Yeah,
while this
that's what
process is going.
Emery said the other day when Emery was
Right,
here,
right.
said if it got too bad, it goes back to the county and we were to deal with it how we saw fit.
I guess that's my question is, until this issue is resolved, is everything put on hold? I guess is what I'm asking.
I don't know what the process is as far as their complaint, because the application is not, there's not been an approval letter issued at this time for to use this site.
And I don't have a complaint in my office about this location, they'll do any investigations on mine.
So that's, That would be the, that would be the first step.
for me.
Yeah,
is to
and I
discuss
think
the
that makes sense, because the point that is being made is really the use of the land. Commercial application of industrial waste does not meet the required zoning, so separate from KDHE, anything they're doing.
Right, and I'm not, look, I'm not being argumentative, I just wanted to make sure that we understood the process, and so if KDHE approved this, would it be put on hold until this issue was resolved? I mean,
Very good question.
As a county unit, could we hold the process off until it was resolved?
I think that'd be a question for your county attorney.
That'd be a Wade question.
Yeah, that'd be a Wade question on that one.
Because I sent him an email and telephone, and Emery didn't respond, so.
Okay.
I'm not ready to deal too. He's already started making improvements to that. I mean, Big Rock Road already in there.
Right, but they haven't started
Not
applying.
applying.
And until that permit is approved, then they.
Right.
So, and my only question is, until this issue is.
Right. I mean, but it's obvious that he's already started in the process.
Right.
Is this ground owned by the same person that owns the ground at Hall Summit?
They don't,
No, it's different.
No.
they don't own the ground at all, Summit, they just lease it.
It's the same operation.
Same operation.
Right.
The title to the land is in the pumping company, the storage company.
This particular.
No, it
This
is,
particular.
Isn't
it's
it?
in his personal name, the guy who owns the company and grounds in his personal name.
With the Cold Creek Holdings on it.
Which
They
goes
have
back to
a
his tax
Correct.
LLC
It does.
address.
for holding the assets
Right.
for the company, so all their own sites is under that LLC.
Right.
Same with their shop west of Emporia and that stuff.
All the other locations are lease ground, is what it is.
Okay, well, I was over by the one at Hall Summit Saturday, we ran fertilizer there, and I sat there and there was 4 transports that came in, and when I got to see it, there was a series of frac tanks down there that they were pumping into.
No, that's right, there's, 4 or 5.
There's quite a bit of machinery out there, and it looked to me like they kind of made sense. I didn't understand why the field was divided with markers, but if they're going to apply on half of it this year and turn around and apply on the other half, that makes sense where it could be
You're looking at
year-round.
You're looking at the markers on the frontage road there, that's a setback, I think.
Yeah, because it was at 200 feet from property lines and 500 from residences, I believe,
Yeah,
on the setbacks.
That's correct, and I think at the Hall Summit location, I think it's a setback of 750 right now, I believe.
So is that just for application? I mean, the setbacks, are they just for application, or is that for their whole operation?
They're tilling clear to the edge of the property over there.
To the road.
Right.
Yeah, they're going up to the road over there.
That may be for weed control or ripping out ruts, but I don't know what, because they're doing it year round. But the ground is frozen, or, if the ground's frozen, they're ripping it up to apply it in the winter time too. Because they thought the stuff that's supposed to still coming in every day. They can only hold so much in their tanks. So it's supposed to have a place to go. So they made them, so in the winter time, there was a lot of ruts and plowing through the terraces and stuff like that. They are raising up over the terraces, but they're not leaving much of the terrace unapplied. And that's part of our concern is if we get, with the rains we get here in eastern Kansas at times, we get a 5-inch rain and they've got rust through the terraces, it's gonna blow down through every terrace into neighboring properties, overload the road ditches. Well, some of the terraces drain into the county road ditches, the way it is, there's no waterways, it's right into the road ditches.
Right.
And that's gonna be on the county's property, county to handle the problems. And one concern we do have is several years ago, there was a big rain at this location. The water coming out of one of the terraces, dumped in the road ditch, overflowed the first road ditch on the east side, blew across Irish Road, the big road, blew across the west road ditch, and down the field we farm, and blew every one of our terraces down the field. But because there's no waterway to handle the water from the terraces, right? Just the county road ditch. And it's been that way ever since those terraces were built. And the county's cleaned that road ditch out several times. I think they've put rock in it lately because it was washing out where the terrace comes out into the county right of way. Did you guys have any comments, concerns, or questions?
Apparently the city thinks it's noon.
Reminder to eat lunch.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you guys. Appreciate
Okay,
your time.
appreciate your presentation, guys.
Well, it sounds like what they usually do there. All I can think is Ivy.
That's the way it sounded to me. I wasn't aware of how any of that was written.
Well, I wasn't
How those
either.
regs were written.
I wasn't either. I mean, that was, you guys have done a lot of research.
Yeah.
Carl,
Yeah.
with what they're discussing here, would this work just for the facility, was it 24th and Iris, or would it be countywide?
This is just for 24th, it's for the land where it's located at the application.
But if we're finding out that they're not zoned right and they're doing this application as commercial, would that affect the rest of the county?
Anything that's in it's agricultural, it's still end up with Heidi, just like we discussed. They do have the setback distances, just so you know, and it's 500 feet from a residence, business, domestic or public water supply, 200 feet from waters of the state, and property lines, and 100 feet from any drainage, swale, ditch, or other physical features which channels or overlook flows. So that's just so we know what the setback distances are.
It's a good point, Carl, as far as the setbacks from the physical features that channel the water flows.
Right.
Isn't that a terrace?
Yeah, no, from the end of the terrace to be
Well,
100 feet to the grass waterway, and then when you also got on some sites where intermittent waterways would be classified as waters of the state.
So the terrace channel, though, that captures the water and drains it by gravity off the field,
That's
directs the water.
an excellent point to debate with Emery, because I brought that up to him to talk to him about how it catches and drains.
Because it's gonna drain whatever excess water and hurt down that terrace channel off the property.
It's a physical feature.
Yeah, how many terraces that field have? It's
About every 100 feet.
And you,
Quite a few.
yeah.
and you've spoken with Emery, from CDBG or
Email.
email, right,
Yeah,
right, but you've had,
we weren't able to reach him by phone, but,
but you were able to make contact with him.
yes, we were attempting to get documentation to have some data.
Sure.
There's been a lot of discussion, but it's all talk. We want some, where's the documents, where's the data of what is the actual plan and what was submitted to the state. That's where we've submitted the quarter requests, but so far we don't have anything from KDHE as far as documentation there, and we've been unable to get any of that from the disposal company either.
Didn't you say that they did respond, somebody responded to KDHE and didn't have the documents?
Yeah, the only response I did receive was that, to one of those requests, was that they did not have any documents that met what I was looking for.
I want to let you guys know this with, these guys talking with me a little bit about coming in with Art, and I'm like, get onto the agenda.
Yeah.
Eric flew in to be at this meeting today, and that's the importance that he's putting on this.
Oh, no, I don't discredit, I mean, I think you've done a nice job of explanation. You've done a lot of research on it.
I would have concerns too.
And then one thing I'd like to say on one of the watersheds, and maybe both of them, they're starting to have a sedimentation problem with them. They are starting to silt in somewhat, and I think this would hasten that process.
Yeah, Bruce and another neighbor waters cattle there out of that, one of those. Jared does too then, so. So yeah, they're used for drinking water for cattle.
And did you guys ever find out exactly what product they're wanting to bring in?
Pretty vague about it.
Very vague. I asked if it was, he mentioned, and Emery mentioned as well, food grade products. Well, I asked if it was human food, and there was no answer. So.
Then has it been processed, or is it raw?
According to their website, they do meat rendering services, grease rendering, they say,
Just wastewater from pet food processing, meat processing, all that stuff. So, you know, you're working with essentially wastewater flows that have a total dissolved solid layer content higher, too high to dispose of to sanitary sewer, and so that's where they discharge it to services like this that can find another route for it. It's the cheapest option of processing versus precipitating out the solids, and that costs money. So companies look to options like this because it's cheaper just to dispose of it.
The other option is to dry the. The other option is to dry the product out, process it, and then dispose of it at a landfill. So this company is encouraging it, taking it wet without this processing, disposing it on as agriculture use.
Yeah, take a huge amount of energy to dry it all.
Yeah.
Basically, it's just they're handling liquid instead of being like a solid landfill.
Right.
No, it is. Everything that they bring in is liquid form. I mean, there's no chunks of matter. If I understand it wrong.
Nobody knows.
I mean, some of it's gonna be sludge. If you look it up, if you just Google around on the internet and look it up, the problem with a lot of it's gonna be the forever chemicals and cleaners that get into them pipes that come out the same way. If you look, there are several states on the East Coast that completely shut it down. Missouri shut theirs down. They won't even allow it. It's a big deal when you look into it, more or less the forever chemicals that are getting into the water table. And there's no getting them out when they're in there. As Art said, if companies would spend the money, companies that are making the millions would spend the money to incinerate the product, then go put it in a landfill. But they don't want to spend the money because it's a way cheaper way to get it done.
We just had a meeting, we think Saturday, and asked him about that stuff. He says, I don't know what's in it.
So when they stop a shift, what it is, any of the wastewater, it's in their tubes or anything, they wash it back out, and they have a tank in which they place it in, and they show up with their tank trucks, and they haul it off. What this is, they've hit on it. It's cheaper than putting in a system like, I think of Frito-Lay up at Topeka, that's the most regular example. They have to pre-treat that water before they can discharge to the city of Topeka. These people don't want to pay for it because it costs me, it costs lots of money to build pre-treatment plants to take care of this, so they're trying to use it through what's called beneficial land application, is what the state of Kansas calls it.
One thing with the KDH guidelines though is the statutes allow for beneficial use land application if or for processes that do not have a public nuisance factor and are not a public health or environmental risk. And if you dig into it, we're talking about those right now.
That's where the question is.
Well, I mean, I think the land use is a key component, but there's other pieces of that is state statute actually being applied correctly within KDHE. That's a whole other question.
Your paperwork also, here somewhere here, says that, the primary use of the land is agriculture, so that's where the question comes in of how this classification, am I correct?
It's really commercial, isn't it?
That's the big question,
And this is different than somebody applying, like a company applying municipal sludge once every several years. They come in, they apply it to the field once, move on to the next one, to the next community, whatever.
Like Hodges.
Like Hodges.
Right.
This is a different deal because it's a one and done deal.
Right.
They don't come in there every day and keep stirring it up, keep adding more, that type of thing.
They do have to take soil samples and waste analysis every year, these folks will, in one well. But that's every year, it's what they call their operational period, and the operational period's about 1 year from the date in which they issue the approval.
But that's just on site, that's not surrounding areas, surrounding bodies of water or anything like that?
No, it's just for the site itself. There's no exterior sampling on the site.
And the fields that I farm both east and west of this have got CP spots in them when it's wet, where water will seep out of the ground. So part of our concern is too on this is the leaching, because following those shallow rock ledges, the product coming out at another location off-site.
Right.
Whether it's in the field, quarry, pond, some other body of water, whatever.
Right.
Because they're applying so much at once.
Right.
And KDHE does allow them to till the land when it's excessively wet. As long as they're not applying product during that time, they can keep subtilling it on down. And because I've had that discussion with Emory, because full confirmation. But I mean, but that goes back to their exchange about they just keep going down, and keep climbing more.
What's the depth of the limestone there?
Well, no, they're pulling rocks out of the ground right now when they're ripping.
I've seen that, but I mean the ledge, the actual
Or they're near
water
about
would
8
flow
feet,
on.
isn't it?
It's, so if you go down, you go in the old quarry pit,
Mm-hmm,
and you look there, it kind of varies between about 5 to 8 feet.
okay.
That's a solid rock. There's yellow cap rock and ledges that are short, you know, smaller ledges that come out all over the place. I think those are the ledges that are hitting ripping rock up.
Yeah. Remove first in a query situation.
The overburden type stuff.
Yeah.
But, and that's what we're concerned about is because it's not, it may be going all the way down 5 or 8 feet, but some of the stuff is 2 feet or less. And so it gets down to that yellow rock layer and then permeates out down the rock ledge.
Almost on the surface of it.
There's some places, there's some wet spots on that same field exactly that along with the joining places that come off the surface when it's wet.
Well, got a well-organized presentation. Appreciate that. Thank you.
I suggest you guys get your paperwork into hiding and go from there.
Yeah.
We're gonna meet after lunch.
Turn these sheets in, somebody,
Sure.
concerned about it?
Yep. Does anybody else have anything to share with us on this?
So you have to have a complaint, I mean, do you have to have a problem first before you make a complaint?
I think from what I'm gathering, they're gonna make it before it
Okay.
happens.
Yes.
They've applied for it. You don't wanna put a Band-Aid after it's already happened.
Exactly.
That's our concern here,
Yeah.
because after the process already started, it's harder to address potential issues at that time where we can address it beforehand, so ways to mitigate it or address it, then maybe it won't be such an issue down the road.
Okay. All right. Very good.
All right.
Well, thank you all very much.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you, guys.
Yeah, thanks. Eric, well presented.
Thank you. If there's any, I mean, we've been doing a lot of research on this.
I can tell you have.
And that's where the use of land is kind of the big thing, because that can force transparency.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
That's great.
Thank you. Any questions?
No, I mean, that was amazing. We've had this discussion before, and there's not anything. This is all.
You guys know where to find me.
Thanks, Carl.
No, thanks, Heidi.
We'll visit. Thank you. So, you want to break for lunch? I think they threw their plate out already.
Probably show up.
Well, what do you want to do, just take an hour?
Was there a meeting or something when we did after lunch with the hospital?
They got a hospital board meeting this evening.
Well, no. Oh, there's more. They're in there right now. They were in a retreat starting at 9.
It wasn't.
Yeah, this is part of their retreat.
Okay. I just had wrote down meeting PM.
I don't know if they have a speaker of their meeting.
Yeah, because normally their meeting would be tonight.
Does it take one pastor?
Yep, take one pass it around. So
I thought somebody said they were tying their meeting in today with lunch.
Yeah, well, I think.
I'm not having this.
Right, I think that was it.
Maybe I missed it. So yes, we recess for a while. If somebody in there thinks something, he's been here for a while. We just observing him. Yeah. Oh, okay. I thought maybe you wanted to say something like this.
Okay, thank you.
Not yet.
All right, very good. So we want to adjourn or recess, excuse me. Get that word down. Come back at 1:18. Sound okay? Okay. I knew it had to be coming. All right, thank you. Well, we're back after our recess. It's 1:58, our meeting at the hospital board. We watched a presentation and took longer than we expected, so we're back. So, gonna work on our salary stuff. We probably gonna need some more people to help us on that if we're gonna do that. Correct?
Probably, if we're gonna get an explanation, that's what we're down to, some of the jumps and steps.
Yeah, yeah.
More than one step.
So I guess I just need to know who you want to talk to and I can go get them.
Well, I have 12 wrote down as the first one. So that's highway, correct? What was our concern there? Or am I
I think
mistaken?
there's,
I didn't have anything on.
Gwen had one, right?
Let me get Gwen.
Oh, okay.
Might have lunch, but.
That's a good one. That's, oh, yes.
Had 12 wrote on there. I wanted to have that wrote on there.
12.
Yeah, I don't see them on it though. So.
I can't take anything else off.
We don't know how much more we want you.
Yeah, I was gonna tell you, it wouldn't be good, but.
Everything else has to do with the jail and the sheriff.
Yes, sir. That's what I've got.
I never had a chance to look through Wade's stuff, but did you do that?
Yeah, I didn't see anything there that.
I didn't look at that yet either. Numbers.
Janitorial and maintenance looks okay.
Yeah, that's what I looked at, and then,
Thanks.
Hello, good afternoon.
Hi. How are you guys doing?
Good, how are you?
Nice. So, you're questioning my jump, with Virginia, is that the question?
that's the one I had.
Yeah.
It's just a question.
It's just a question.
I just feel like she deserves a little bit more. She's, my main, deputy. She's done a great job. She covers me when I'm not there. Compared to the other deputies, I started her out pretty low when I started her because she didn't have a lot of experience. I feel like, after a year and a half, she's doing a great job, and I would just like to push it up just a little bit more, for her to be a little bit more comparable with the other deputies in the courthouses.
Okay.
Just kind of gradually moving
She's
her.
good. She's doing a good job for me.
She is, she's very reliable and, yeah, doing a great job trying to learn and, yep.
We're just,
Mhm. Yeah.
figured that was the case, we're just kind of trying to be uniform.
Yeah, I know, and I know that too, but like I said, I feel like she's, with the other deputies in the courthouse, she's quite a bit less than the other deputies in the
Right,
courthouse.
well, what I was meaning to say was, we're being, or at least for me, we're questioning everybody that went more than one step. That doesn't mean we don't agree with it, is what I'm trying to say.
Just making sure we get a justification.
Yeah, we're asking that of everybody.
Yeah.
So to be uniform, we're asking everybody that type of raise.
Sure. Okay. All right, that is in, or, yeah?
That's all we need.
All right, okay, all right, thank you,
Yeah,
appreciate
thank
it.
you. Thanks for
coming in. Bye. Okay, Ryan's gonna be a few minutes. Who else do you want to go?
Was there one on?
I didn't have anything like.
You didn't have anything for lunch?
Yeah, well,
I had
I
it
can't remember
wrote
if I did or
down.
not, I think there was, there might have been.
I had it wrote down, but what tab number is he? 12, maybe? Yeah, 12.
I highlighted mine.
That wrote down, but I don't know.
I don't think I had anything.
You don't have anything for Ryan? Okay.
I don't, but you're. Yeah, it was.
Oh, I had one. It was, I don't even see it now.
Do you want me to go see if Tom's available while you're looking there?
Yeah. I had that wrote down, but I don't know what the concern was.
I had, that one right there. And I don't even know why I don't even know why I questioned that. Oh, right here. Oh, well, oh, nothing. She maxed out.
Yeah, there's a few that.
That was, she maxed out.
Okay. And that was on.
Highway, it was just, and it wasn't really a question, I don't even know why I put that one down.
What number?
Highway budget on, right down here. Oh, I'm sorry, 12.
I'm missing a sheet or something.
I don't have any questions on here.
I don't either. There you go.
Okay.
It would be this one right here, and I just went across and she maxed.
Bottom here?
Yeah, she maxed out. Oh.
Yeah.
That's on this sheet.
I saw that.
I think that's why I put that one down, possibly. Because that's.
Okay.
Because that's one that we, yeah, okay.
Should I cancel him?
Yeah, yep. I couldn't remember why I put that one down. You're right, it's already been taken care of.
Cancel on Ryan.
I did.
You did? Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, I guess you heard we canceled you. Request to come up.
You've been canceled.
Okay, very good, thank you. Okay, bye.
That didn't sound good, did it? You
You
been
have
canceled?
a question for Wade. I mean, it's a vacant position right now, but the legal intern, the pay increased quite a bit on here.
He did mention something to me about that we could, if we could get him, we could sure ask about it.
You want me to go get him? You're gonna wait until Tom.
Oh, then.
That might be included in the highway. Yeah, it's included.
Yeah.
We don't have one that I know looks up there, no? Maybe some, okay, here's the bridge.
That's it, that was it.
Yeah, max out.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, I couldn't remember what, I think that's why I asked the question.
Oh.
Kind of like
I will think
Oh, on that one, I wonder if that's the one that, on the legal intern, if that's not, something to do with, which they're able to,
he's wanting to get another one.
and be a little more active.
because you can process some cases.
He can process some cases or something like that.
Got certain level of.
Right, right. You said Adam. Oh, no, Adam. It was, got lucky. So I can't remember what was presented to us. I think it was.
Assistant bridge.
Oh, no, John.
I didn't hear you, but I missed anything after I left the department head meeting. I didn't text you, something important happened.
Of course you would have.
No. We'll see you. See ya.
Good afternoon. How we doing?
Hey, Tom. How are you, sir?
Been a long weekend.
Was that good or bad?
Bad.
Oh.
Long weekend's better than a long week.
Ew.
Stop that.
You didn't sleep last night.
Which one were we questioning? This first one here?
We're just basically questioning everything that jumps from one grade to another or more than one step increase.
Yeah.
So,
Not arguing that it's
not
right
just
or
you,
wrong, just.
everybody.
We've been, just asked everybody who's made more than one step if they could explain why.
Tab 13, Jay.
Okay. Where are you at?
Let's start with jail, that's tab 13 for us.
Yeah.
I'm gonna get to the next page.
Had 6 of them.
So, number one, can I mention names here, or are we not supposed to mention names in open session?
I'm not sure how that works.
So I didn't think we could talk about names, specific names. But I can tell you, the first one on the list, let's start that way, I guess.
Okay.
Right.
First one on the list.
And we're on jail, right?
Yep, you said start with jail.
Yep.
Yeah.
Jump what, from 3515 to 3517?
Right.
Yep, that's the first one.
Right.
So that person there, has taken over all of the bookkeeping in the jail, because the one that was doing it is moving to my kitchen staff.
Okay.
So she's been doing it now for 4 or 5 months, and I thought she deserved that 2-step to take care of all the bookkeeping.
Oh, no, that's good.
Above and beyond.
And she's been there for a long time, she's been with you for a long time.
Oh, yes, sir, she has been. A great employee.
Yeah.
Hard worker, hard worker.
Okay.
Extra responsibilities.
Yep.
Absolutely. So the next one on your list.
Well, the one from, jump from 4010 to 45.7, be the fourth one down.
To 45, no, from a 4010 to a 45.7.
Right.
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
sorry. So that person was promoted to a lieutenant in jail. I have done several promotions here because we're moving over, splitting shifts in this new facility, and I'm trying to get people set up for shifts and do those extra duties.
Sure.
The next one is a second shift corporal, is going to be a corporal in the new jail, experienced and everything else, and moved 2 steps. All these were moved 2 steps. That's all it was moved. There was nobody moved more than that. Then you go down several, and there's a second shift sergeant, which went from 35.7 to 45. So that's a sergeant's pay.
Okay.
One below that went from 35.9 to a 45 to a sergeant's pay. All in the jail.
40-5 for all the listeners. Yeah.
Sorry, yeah. Sorry, my phone keeps switching on me.
No, I just thought they were 35 to 45.
No. So that should be all of those, and then you're going, then next we'll have law enforcement, dispatch. That should be on your next list.
Tab 20, the sheriff.
What, 20?
Tab 20 is sheriff.
Okay.
So the very first one, if I can get my phone to quit switching, the very first one on that list went from a 4520 to a 5512, but that should have been moved when they were promoted 2 years ago. We just didn't catch it was supposed to move to that next line. So we moved them to a 55, but kept them just pennies, and it was 45 cents difference.
Right.
But we moved them to the line that they should have been on. That was my screw up. I didn't catch it when we did it.
And again, he's been with you for a good number of.
Oh, yes,
Yeah.
long time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, these are all great employees. Next one down, who you're very familiar with. I wish I could have raised him more than what I did, but I didn't. Went from a 5510 to a 12. You know, does all the radio programming, has been with you guys helping all the towers, has trained one of the emergency management people to help do all the radios.
Yeah.
Is unbelievably good at what he does, and wish I'd give him more, but I can't.
Right.
Okay, if this phone doesn't quit switching, I'm going to give my turn here. Next one down went from a 40-5 to a 40-7. And let's see, that is staff in my office. If you don't know, I'm sure Angie can tell you, this staff member has totally moved our bookmaking process into the 22nd century now. Did everything on her own to get our system up and running, and it is spotless. The auditors have said they cannot believe how easy it is to track and follow, and she did that on her own. And so she deserves 2 steps.
She's IT.
She is one of my staff, one of my secretarial staff that's taken on those duties we need to have done.
Right.
If you want to call it IT, I suppose you can.
Well, no, I mean that.
But she's good at what she does. Very good. Let's see. The next one just completed the 6 months. They're eligible for a master deputy slot due to their years of experiences. Also, my new canine handler, certified, got certified and everything. Has jumped leaps and bounds, and I moved them from a 46 to a 45-7 because that's where they need to be for a master deputy.
And he's K9, you say?
Yes, sir.
So.
Yeah, it was right underneath the previous one.
Oh, okay. Let's get over it. Yeah, okay.
The next one is dispatch. Went from a 55-6 to a 55-8. This person's taken over my 911 coordination in the dispatch center. We've separated those 2 jobs. It became too much for one person to deal with the 911 portion, all of the programming of all the consoles and keep up with everything. And so I've kind of split and put one person over my dispatch center and one person off all the software and all the radio systems.
And this person is over your
911 dispatch center.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Again, been here a long time.
Yeah.
Great employee. The last one I show is went from a 45-10 to a 45-13. That's 3 steps. I'm sorry, I lied to you. I moved 3 steps. This individual is my office coordinator and does everything. If you've ever had to deal with my staff, you know that they know what's going on. So I'm going to be truthful with you. I could be gone today and be gone the rest of the year, and my staff could run this place for me. So if there's anybody there that deserves that, I wish I'd give them more, but I can't. So that's my reasoning for my increases.
Okay.
If you have any other questions, I'll be more than happy to answer those.
Like I say, it's not that, we're not picking on anything.
No, that's
We
fine.
just decided
I respected it.
we were gonna ask for,
You talked about in the meetings that this year coming up with the property tax increase, with the possible school, bond issue and stuff, that that it needs to be done.
Doing everything we can.
And Tom-
Absolutely.
And Tom, those that you went through were exactly the ones that I'd marked down but those are the only questions, and I was pretty sure on most of them, but it was just questions.
Gentlemen, like I said, I expected, that's why I've already had it researched and I already had it written out,
Yeah.
so I know that this was gonna come.
Right.
Yeah, so, now, if there's anything else I can do for you, I'm here, so, I'm not going very far.
And I know you got a good staff.
Sir, I'm not kidding you, I've said this from day one, I had great staff. These employees, all of them, when I came in, things were a little different, as you well know. And I asked for things to be different, I asked people to step up and take responsibility, and again, they're gonna be held to a higher standard working for me. You know, I've had to let some people go in my past term that couldn't do that.
That's a hard thing to do, but it's a necessary.
In this line of work, sir, it is. I cannot have somebody that doesn't have this higher standard. We're looked up for that. And the public wants us to be that way, and I want it to be that way. For the last 36 years, I've felt that way, and that's the way it's going to be if you work for me. And every person on my staff has stepped up. When I asked them to take on responsibilities, added responsibilities, it wasn't in their job description. They might be now, but they weren't at that time. They stood up and said, well, do whatever you want to do so we can make this place a better place. And that's all I asked. I never asked for anybody to run. I just asked them to take a step forward. One step at a time is all we got to do.
That's what all of us want
Yep.
for everything.
So I'm telling you, I'd have blew my brains out. I've been on a ledge several times. And the staff would say, step in off the ledge, Tom. Come on, it's not that bad, you know. So, yeah, I've been on that ledge. But no, if there's anything else you need, please tell me. I'll come back and talk to you.
Okay.
Nothing else? You go. I'll get out of your hair.
I'm good.
Sir?
Leave.
Okay. All right.
Thanks for coming in.
Oh, no problem. See y'all later. You bet.
Thank you.
Have a good day. You too. You know it's beautiful outside here and here.
Yeah, we do.
You understand that, right?
We do, Tom.
There's grass to be mowed, you know, flowers to be planted, and you're sitting in here.
We ran away for a while, but we had to come
We had to come back.
I hear you. See you guys later.
See you. Thank you. So, do we wanna?
That take care of everybody except. Just as a sidebar here, looking over all this stuff, these people got some very, very substantial raises when you put in COLA, longevity, and going over that. So,
That's true, but the longevity in the COLA, I mean, that's,
okay.
But
Talking from a lot of places, and there's a lot of people out there that don't get COLAs or longevity. I think they need to understand that they got a pretty good situation.
oh, they do.
Yeah.
So,
They,
I mean,
they do, and
I'm grateful for every single one of them. But if we start to have to cinch our belts up, we need to keep that in mind.
That's true. I agree. Yeah, because, years ago, like when I was in high school, you went to work for the county if you couldn't hold down another job or if you were in trouble. I mean, I'm not saying that the upper side of it wasn't different than that, but a lot of people on the low end of it, and that's not what these jobs are anymore in my mind. You know, they're good paying jobs.
But I mean, if there's somebody out there that, because I've heard, well, I'm not making enough, gosh dang, those are very good salaries.
well, and this county's got great benefits.
Great benefits, I mean, the whole package is really great, so.
Well, the
But
COLA helps keep them all up.
But again, that's part of the retention of.
Oh, and I understand that, but I mean, we gotta tighten belts up or anything, we can't overlook, I don't want anything cut, I'm not saying
No,
that,
no.
but it just,
I
it's
understand.
just in the back of my mind.
Yeah.
I feel like we've been a pretty fair employer, more than fair is my thought.
So they should be all feel compared to many businesses, compared to
Yeah.
many businesses, and probably a majority of counties in the state.
Yeah.
It's a really good gig.
Do what?
It's a really good gig for a lot of these positions.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's, how you try to keep quality people, so, yes.
Yeah, I feel like to the surrounding county, and things aren't going so well there, and the quality is not as good either.
And
As a kid, I remember coming over here when, way before Wolf Creek even went in, how destitute the county was back in the day.
Oh, it was,
yeah.
Wolf Creek made all the difference in the world.
Oh, nothing, apparently I put his stuff in the wrong. I'll find it about time we're done.
Wade is not here.
Okay. So we're not gonna do that today, apparently. Okay. So I guess that's the end of that for today. But you have anything else?
We had more time to finish this up, didn't we, Angela?
Yeah, I mean, we can wait until next Monday
Okay,
if you want. And, I mean, we can actually, if you've approved most everything and you're good with that, we can start getting numbers ready, plugging in the system.
Yeah.
Because we'll have to double check and everything.
Sure,
so.
sure. I think we're down to one, is that not right, guy? I mean, yeah.
Well, it's not even a
It's not
current
even a-
employee, it's just a position in the.
Yeah, it's just a point of discussion.
Yeah, the hourly
That's what we
wage
need to do.
went up.
Yeah, I think it's wanting,
Well, I guess you do have another thing. You were gonna discuss, department heads also doing the stuff like you did last year, because remember they moved $1.
Yes. We do need to do that.
is that
No.
in here?
No, I don't think so. Well,
Is this the one?
Yeah. Well, it's under
Oh, okay.
One on economic development.
last year.
to,
We were gonna correct the one on economic development.
Yes,
and it is,
and I will get that
well,
corrected.
the
You're
new sheet
gonna,
came in.
here's, I think the difference between steps was like $1.10 too, or something like that. Not sure where.
So a staff equals like $1.10 per hour? That's what
Well, I'm
you're
looking,
thinking.
I don't know that for sure. No, it's just not. But that's what you did last year.
That's what we did last year.
And I
So
don't
we
know.
added this amount last
Correct.
year.
Correct. But that's what the salary study,
$2,300. 2248.
Yeah, 22, 88. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what we did last year.
But had we not done something the year before? I can't remember.
yeah, you hadn't done
We had-
anything
For,
since the salary study went in.
and
So
how
you were
we-
trying to, I think, make up for that.
well,
That was, what seems to be the discussion to me that I recall, but I'm maybe.
So I think it went in, was it 2019?
I don't know when the salary study was done, but to my understanding, there's been nothing done from that time until last year. And so,
Let me see here, I can go back and look.
yeah, it figured out $1.10. That's what it was.
2288, that's what it figures out to.
Exactly. $1.10, and that's based on 2,080 hours. Isn't that correct? Isn't that the way, I mean, that's the way I remember it.
Trying to find some
Okay, it would have been in 2021 is when it went into effect.
Okay. So, like some people, just an example, just a thought, people here in a 35 pay scale, one step increased them $1.06 or $1.09 is what that increased them. I don't know.
I think you did base it off of a middle.
I think that's the way we came up with it last year. I can't remember exactly how it was done, but it was,
It was the middle of the, yeah, that's where I thought it'd be looking on the other sheet. Like 42 cents in the 40 pay grade, right? Is what a step would be. Is that, am I thinking right?
That'd be the mid-grade section.
Yeah. Because like here, if I'm moving, that's, any of these steps down here are 38, 40 cents.
where are you looking at?
Well, just kind of looking at, you know, all of our pay grades from 5 to 60, you know, if you just went in the 40 line and saw how much a step was, it's about,
I guess the last one, but you could do anyone in there.
the last step, is that?
That's what I did.
It's 41 at the first, isn't it?
Yeah. That's the way it looks to me, yeah, there at the beginning.
So, yeah.
Came up with that, to make it steps.
The lady that did the salary study, she figured them, I think they were figured on about a 1.5% or something. So they would, each step would be the same, somehow she figured it.
So we've got how many hours in a year?
2080. Is that correct?
Right.
Even if you went down to the last grade, which is a 65, and you went clear down to the end of the steps, that's 61 cents max, so
Yeah.
you're looking at the 40, the middle grade.
Yeah, we are clear up here. Right up here at the top, but, you know, 29 to 31 cents for up, you know, for up the top of it, so. thinking, right?
Say that again, please.
Oh, like if you go here, like grade 5, you know, a step up here is like, 29, 30 cents or something up there. Like at 40 cents in 2080, that'd be 832.
Yes.
Another approach I kind of looked at was just looking at the salaries, and I just picked one like 80,000, which was close. Just went and just found it on the chart to see what a step increase would be. That would be around 55 cents. And that amounts to like a 1.4% on 80.
That I figured out about the same as he's figured out there, kind of 1.4, 1.5.
If we just made it around number 1150, that would put you, should put you around the 1.5, I think. Or did I screw that one up?
These are way higher, so it's what I'm comparing in the middle of the sheet there,
Yeah.
So, sorry.
No, it's okay. I was
Just trying to dot something out there.
trying to.
Who's the dot,
Yeah, I mean, just finding something in the ballpark and then just.
These positions pay pretty good. I'm not saying they don't deserve them.
Oh, I'm not saying that at all.
Yeah. Yeah. So,
Sorry? 12 would be $1,200
so,
a month, or $100.
so, I kind of forgot where I was going with that. So 1.4 is kind of comparable on the other, and the lower ones too, I guess, right?
Close, yeah.
I guess,
It's six,
I'm probably looking, go ahead, Steve.
I was just doing some, at 60 cents would be 12.48. But it's, $12.50 around it.
$0.50 an hour.
I said, yeah, 60. I was doing 60.
Yeah, I guess, right or wrong, I'm more comfortable in the 11 to 1200 range myself, but be a little more proportionate to the lower.
And when I was figuring, it came out to 11.44, so it's right in between there.
Yeah.
That's about $15,600 total wage increase.
For the total,
For all.
yeah. And that's what, 1,200? What were you?
1,200.
I would make a motion. I'm sorry. I would make
You
a.
sure can.
Well, tell me if I'm out of line. I would make a motion to increase the positions by 1,200 a year. I don't know how else to.
Is that gonna be
Department head
all-
of-
Department.
Is that gonna be all positions, or are we gonna leave the development that was?
Oh.
Our role. All these are full-time positions?
Yes.
Well, we're gonna eliminate, I guess, are you gonna eliminate the commissioners?
Oh, yes.
I never counted them, so when I figured this,
Do
I
I?
didn't figure the commissioners.
No, I'd like
I
to
got
keep the
total
commissioners
amount.
where we are. And to your question, how would, did we make that contingent after 6 months? I mean, I don't know.
We negotiated with her,
We did.
and I would think that would be set, and then she would be a part of it next year. That's what I'm thinking.
Fair enough.
We've increased our,
What we offer, basic offer, yeah.
Right.
I'm wrong to feel that way.
No.
What are your thoughts, Mark?
Did you say 1,200?
I think I say all these positions who've been in their position since the beginning of the year.
Pardon me?
You could say all these positions listed on the sheet who've been in that position since January 1, excluding,
Yes, that would take care of the
Yeah.
commissioners.
Right, yes,
excluding the commission.
yes.
Okay, hold on a minute.
I think that accounts for it. They're not trying to fire up that siren.
I think we're tuning her up. Maybe they wanna make sure the power come back
First off, I
on.
was a Jake break going on.
And they had to pull the fuse, and they wanted to make sure it still worked.
It's like I'm
So I was
starting
ready
to-
for him to pull the fuse.
I was too.
I was like, I'd like to hear this meeting.
It's getting annoying.
It was a distraction for everybody.
So solid 10 minutes.
It was a long time.
Okay, see if you like that.
What do you think, McCurry?
I think that's,
Let me, okay, move to increase salaries for department heads and
There we
elected
go.
officials who've been
since January 1.
there we go.
I would still make that motion.
Okay, motion to increase salaries. Okay, yeah, McCurry moved to increase salaries for department heads and elected officials who have been in their position since January 1st, 2025, $1,200 per year, excluding the commissioners. McCurry's moved.
I'll second.
Barker seconds that. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes.
And we did adopt those that we had in question, correct?
Well, you've given me okay, so now what I will do is I will take all of the salaries and put them in the system,
Okay.
and then we print it out on a resolution, and you guys will approve the resolution. And then, that's that.
Okay, very good.
Good job, guys.
Angie, on, the landfill, we were talking earlier, with them being in the red, does that figure in, I know they scrap some metal out there periodically, is that figured in anywhere?
I think everything they do is figured in that.
Is there, do we have a notation of some sort what they do make off their metals, or?
I could probably print off revenue for them.
Well, for next meeting, where I'd like to see that.
Sure.
Just out of curiosity, how much they got out there.
And I will also add that I already had emailed the auditor on our discussion earlier, asking her, and I have a response. She said, so I had mentioned that Ryan had visited with the board today regarding solid waste, with it going in the red and the transfers we've been doing. I said the board would like to see what the actual costs are in the fund, and they didn't feel like, or seemed like that they wanted to pay solid waste employees out of the general fund at this time. In 2018, we transferred a lump sum of $220,000, which carried us to about the end of 2023. And so, anyway, I was asking her if we could do another lump sum that would carry us for a few years, or if they would be okay with that. She said, as long as there's a resolution noted in the minutes, so I can use that as the authority for the footnotes. Also keep in mind that a budget amendment may be needed for the general fund, depending on how much money is spent during 2025. So, in order to avoid a budget amendment, I would say maybe if I can look at the numbers and see kind of what we did last year, and if we could spare $100,000 or $150,000 say for this year, and then maybe next year we could kind of plan when we do budgets in the summer, and then maybe we could plan to do a little more, and then that might carry us for a while. That's kind of what I was thinking.
I guess, really, I don't, it doesn't matter to me how the personnel is paid. I mean, as long as there's some accounting for what's actually happening.
Yeah.
There, you know,
So we can see if they're still in the red or how bad things are.
Yeah.
I don't wanna look at it and say, hey, it looks like we're in the black, but we're paying personnel out of general fund,
Right.
you know?
Well,
And obviously it's a service, so.
Yeah, I mean, I know we're not gonna make
Cash flow, but probably, you know.
the only thing that concerns me of making that big leap yet, out of paying it from general, is because the personnel costs are a couple $100,000 a year, and the general fund may not be able to do quite that much. So that's why I'm thinking we might need to figure out.
You think it would be better to put a lump sum in, like we're talking?
Well, I'm thinking maybe do at least, maybe not all the personnel costs, but like maybe $100,000 or $150,000 if it looks like that's kind of what we've been shorted, and then when we budget this year, try to figure out how we want to do it. If we want to go ahead and do it in the solid waste department in the general fund, then we need to budget for it.
Sure.
Because right now, I don't think we're ready to do it all.
100,000 on last year would put them in the black.
Yeah.
Yeah, makes sense.
Yeah.
But I think just to say,
Yeah,
we'll do all
budgeting for
payroll.
it in the general fund sounds good too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we already have a department for solid waste, so we could.
Just don't want to take extra costs, just keep taking it out of general fund, otherwise it's gonna get depleted pretty fast.
Yeah, when I looked at that, I thought, ooh, that's, to say we could do 200,000 right now, I don't know that we could do
You're
that.
uncomfortable with that?
Okay. Okay. Well, that covered everything for today.
Probably probably done it wrong.
I guess we haven't had round table, but. Anybody have anything for round table?
I'll start it off, I don't have anything.
I'll second that, so.
I don't have
I guess I don't either.
Just don't forget, you've got training this week, Wolf Creek,
Tomorrow, right?
tomorrow,
And Wednesday.
and.
And/or.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, and
Choice,
then,
right?
Todd, you have tomorrow, Mark and Todd have Tuesday. No,
Okay.
you're right, Wednesday.
Wednesday.
Gosh, I'm reading.
Wait a minute.
Steve and I
Yes,
got
Wednesday.
Tuesday, don't we?
Is that?
You're on Tuesday.
Is that tomorrow? Oh, I'm sorry, today?
Yeah, tomorrow, April Fool's.
Oh, yeah, EOC at 9 o'clock.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you guys have that, then you guys do Wednesday. You're right. I was reading web and I kept thinking Wednesday.
Yeah, we're not
So-
worrying about that.
Yeah,
So we got tomorrow at 9 o'clock.
yeah.
So do we come up here and get our badges or?
You did the training.
I don't know if you need this for the training, because it's not even, it's not like a
Only for the.
drill. Yeah.
Well, if you do need it, you know where it's at.
I do know where it's at.
Locate fine.
Otherwise, I think that's all I have today.
Okay. Well, I guess we don't have anything else. We'll adjourn at 2:56.
Very good. We covered a lot of stuff today.
Yeah, that was good.